Are you ready? Are you ready to escape the echo chamber? Are you ready to push past the propaganda? Are you ready to dismantle the deception? Then let's go. Let's go. Welcome to Escaping the Echo Chamber. We've got a good one today. We've got a really good one. And not just a good one, it's an important one. And it's so important because of how much stuff is connected to, how much we talk about it. Because the question is, it's interesting. I saw a take on it that basically it's not possible to have black owned businesses, which I was like, what? But, we'll get into all that later. But this is so important because this is a topic that keeps coming up. And the question is, well, like, is it even a thing? Is it a thing that we should be focused on? Is it a thing that is feasible? Is it a thing that will actually benefit the black community? My answer is, of course. Of course, black owned businesses will benefit the black community. But how? How will black owned businesses actually be a benefit for the black community? Um, Regardless of if it is a benefit or not, you will have individuals who will say, wait, a black owned business? No, no, that's racist. That's racist. How we get there? We supposed to be judging each other by the content of our character, not the content, not the color of our skin. Of course, that will be the only quote from Martin Luther King Jr. that a lot of people will will be able to quote. Welcome, it's just Kenny. Welcome to the show. Welcome. Yeah, we're just getting started. Because basically, one of the questions and one of the drawbacks, one of the pushbacks every time we start talking about black-owned businesses is that's racist. And the point is, people will say, you shouldn't be just talking about black-owned. Just it should be just businesses. Why are you just focused on black-owned? And among other things, that ignores the historical realities of the United States of America. Welcome, James Millage. Welcome. Because America has history. Like in we don't exist in this bubble that's completely divorced from everything that has happened before now. And there are people who will argue about what's happening now, but it's clear and evident what's happened in the past because that stuff wasn't even hidden. There was just blatant stuff happening in the past where they were specifically making policies, specifically engaging in actions that were meant to stop Black progress, that were meant to stop Black people from owning stuff, from building businesses, from building wealth. They had specific policies. Let's just take a look at some of the history. Let's talk about redlining. Let's talk about redlining where they didn't want Black people even owning property. Let's try to stop Black people from getting loans to live in certain areas. Like, this is real. This stuff actually happened. This isn't just a figment of our imagination. So when you look at a lot of Black communities today that may not be may be living in poverty, and not even poverty, because poverty, the poverty line is so low that you can be above it, and that's still not sufficient. That still doesn't it's not even a drop in the bucket, and that still doesn't characterize enough money to be able to live comfortably, to be able to take care of our families, to be able to do to provide for the future of our kids. So when we're talking about redlining, when we talk about the New Deal, and how a lot of people don't want to talk about how this New Deal, how the white middle class was built on the back of the New Deal, and there were so many parts of it that explicitly excluded black people from it. Like that wasn't accidental. That was intentional. It's like we're going to build white wealth while making sure that black wealth can't be built. Because at this time, remember, black people had already been building wealth, and we've talked about it before, and we're going to talk about it again. Black Wall Street, not just Black Wall Street, Black Wall Streets, because black people had built Black Wall Streets where you had thriving businesses, thriving communities, prosperous communities, and then there was all kinds of stuff done to stop black people from thriving, from building businesses. I'm all for black-owned businesses, but the quality deals and products have to value in my favor, and that's something that's going to be that we have to discuss. Because, for instance, if we're talking about black-owned businesses, I can't just say, okay, so I'm going to start a supermarket that has that we have it's black owned, right? So I want all the black people in the area to shop at my black owned supermarket, but uh I don't have stuff in stock. Like I don't stock my shelves regularly. I'm selling all of my products at like 20% higher than everybody else in the area. Like, am I actually, so if I'm actually going to create a black owned business, am I going to do right by, those in the community? Like that's a necessary factor. I'm old enough to remember going to the Black Expo when they had it over at the Jacob Javits Center in the 90s. Okay, yeah, yeah. But the question is like, so like it right now, I know a lot of times people talk about building black businesses and building black wealth, and they're like, well, you need capital. And the interesting thing is where we are at technologically, the opportunity, the ease, it is so much easier to build black businesses right now. Um, like it's just mind-boggling. It blows your mind how easy it is. Now, there's certain things that will require greater amounts of capital to get started, and then we got to talk about legislation because there will constantly be legislation coming out that will make it harder to start black businesses. It was all about building our own communities like others have done. Yes, yes, absolutely. Only during the last, yeah, that have the has the term black owned been villainized. And I've seen coverage from people like trying to discourage black owned business. Like people like, oh, well, why do you need black owned? That's just segregation. And but they will like it's amazing. They will keep on trying to come up with ways to stop black people from improving our situations. And this is not by accident, this is by design. But let's take a look. We talked about, Black Wall Street. In fact, you know what happened with Black Wall Street. You know how there was actual violent attacks against Black Wall Street to stop black wealth from being developed, from growing, and then the government eventually steps in and actually uses eminent domain and urban renewal to stop black wealth. So the state we see, any states of poverty, and this is crucial because there will be people who will constantly say, well, why is the black community, slavery ended over 100 years ago, why is the black community still in and it's still in shambles, why is the black community still poor, why is the black community still suffering? And it's because these people that are saying that stuff don't know history. They do not know history. In some cases, they don't know history. In many cases, they don't know history. Like Candace Owens doesn't know history. Like there was a clip she did where she's talking about how she learned black history from Charlie Kirk. Like that's not that I'm not exaggerating. She literally said, "Oh yeah, Charlie, he's the one that taught me about black history." So if Candace Owens' knowledge of black history comes from Charlie Kirk, that shows you how seriously you can take Candace Owens. But there are so many people that don't know, and then there are some people who know but just like want to obscure over it for some other reason. Whether it's a because like Larry Elder, I think Larry Elder knows better, but he's on the grift. He realizes there's money to be made in selling this fantasy of bootstraps and yo black people are just lazy and that but this is the answer. This is the response for when you have people pushing just these untrue, inaccurate, just absolutely fallacious talking points. um let me see. Hell, the best example are the hair product shops that are all over certain neighborhoods, but no one realizes how the system allows others to go into the black community. Yeah, yeah. Because let's not even just not just that they have these these non-black owned hair shops, nail salons, all within the black community. Look at the treatment black women keep getting in these facilities. Like we'll see, like there's so many times you'll look online and you'll see some footage, some cell phone video of black women being just horribly mistreated or beaten up at these stores that aren't owned by black people. So they will set up shop in a black community, accept black dollars, and then disrespect black patrons, black customers. Like that can't be accepted. Like there's no reason at this point why we should continue to accept it. But I've heard things from like people who've tried to set up, black owned, nail and hair salons, and how they've actually been throttled by the distributors. How the distributors of these products will intentionally like not give them goods to try to help them to fail, which is why that's going to be part of building black businesses, of not just owning the retail, but of dealing with the distribution, dealing with production, dealing with at various levels black ownership has to start occurring. But I think we should be focused on the easiest ways to start black business and building out from there. I mean, and it depends on who you are, because there's some black people who will be in a better position who have capital, who can start higher end black businesses or at different areas in the chain of black business. Um, that's the key factor. Other groups don't realize that the government steps in to impede black people's progress. Exactly. And they don't want to talk about it. But that's why it's important for us to know about it so that like we can counter anytime people come with those stupid talking points. And most importantly, so that we can actually counter the all of these regulations and all of these things that are done to stop black businesses from growing. um because like even with just braiding, like the amount of hours needed to get a braiding license. No, number one, the fact that you need a braiding license in itself is like, what? So black women need to go to the government to get permission to braid black women's hair and black people's hair. Like, what? That makes no sense. But these are the kinds of things, these are kind of obstacles that are being put in in our way to try to stop us from doing it on our own, from being free of other people's other people's control. Because it's about just, it's not just about the money, it's about the money, it's about the control, it's about the power, it's about the wealth, it's about all of these things that they know black owned businesses have such a the power to do. um Benefits and take their money into their own communities and build them up. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. um that's right. There's white fragility. Basically whites complaining about why something racial. Yeah, but it's only when it comes to black businesses that becomes an issue. When when you've got these businesses owned by other people, not a peep, not a peep. But when we start talking about black owned business, they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, and these are the same people. These are the same people who love talking about black on black crime. What about black on black crime? Okay, we have an answer for black on black crime. We have an answer for to keep these young black kids off the street. We start our black businesses. Hey, come on, youngin, you come in here. You got a job now. You boom. This is a place where you can work. Ain't you don't have to worry about people not hiring you. We have the businesses. We're hiring you. We're pulling kids off the street, giving them something to do, giving them money to earn, and then and teaching them. Boom, you can do it. This is where you get your start, and you get your hustle on, and then you start doing it. You start learning how to run your own businesses. But the same people who will be so quick and who love saying, "Well, what about black on black crime?" Suddenly don't want to talk. They see race then, but they don't want to see race when it comes to black businesses. The Community Reinvestment Act needs to be revised to include businesses that do business in black communities. There's so much. There's so much legislation that needs to be adjusted and attacked and dealt with. There's so much legislation from licensure to and we got to look at the policies that they do with minimum wage and stuff like that, because they keep approaching minimum wage from the position of, oh well, this help black people so that you can work, so you can get paid more at a low wage job. I'm like, but wait, what if we want to start a business? Because like if a black person wants to start a fast food franchise, you just raise the cost for black people being able to get to start their own businesses. You know what I'm saying? But these are things we have to be looking at when it comes to legislation. We have to be looking at legislation from, okay, well, how does this have a long-term effect on the black community? Absolutely, Rocket man. Absolutely, we need more. Rebuild Black Wall Street, and we can, because like I was talking about, the technology that exists today, we can be rebuilding so many more Black Wall Streets at such a rate that will just, it'll be incredible. Um, IJ talks about this too. I'm not sure who IJ is. IJ. But when we bring up the past racism that still reflects in today's society, it falls on deaf ears, and Candace is pushed out to prove some sort of point. Yes, but that's why Candace is very selective in where she goes. And she made the mistake of going to an actual black audience and having you saw if y'all saw the Revolt Summit a couple of years back, which was like her first time actually talking to black people, because normally she's just in front of a bunch of white folk talking about black people. But then when she was actually asked the question, she had to stall. She was trying to do some tap dancing around it, and then finally it's like, okay, Killer Mike had to say, "Listen, Candace, you didn't know the answer. Stop it. You didn't have an answer. You just used to just parroting these talking points, and you didn't have an answer." But that's why when I talk to people, even when there are people who may, oh yeah, I think Candace is okay, because there's young people out there that are disillusioned with the Democratic Party, and I get it. But then they'll see Candace and they'll be like, okay, she sounds smart. And so I've had conversations with young people like this, and then get to start breaking down some of the history, and this is stuff they've never heard of before, and it's stuff they're like, wow, I didn't know that. Yes, and this is stuff that these people that are pushing these talk points don't want to talk about, because they're not actually trying to solve a problem. Um, F, and this is the thing. So we have to realize, like, the technology exists, but we have to realize that once we start utilizing this technology, we know what's going to happen. Once we start utilizing social media, we start utilizing Facebook, YouTube, like, we have to be prepared to expect a pushback, because there will be pushback. There will be all kinds of obstacles, all kinds of, oh yeah, well, this violates this terms of service, and this we have to stop this. We think this is discriminatory. All kinds of excuses will be made to try to stop our progress. But that's why we have to be prepared for that. But right now, we have to be taking advantage of all of the avenues that are available. We have to take advantage of it. No one talks about white on white crime, Latin on Latin crime, Asian on Asian crime, but when it comes to black on black, they're experts. Why? Exactly. Because, and I will constantly, anytime somebody says black on black crime, I'm like, what? Why don't you, have you ever in your life, have you ever in your life used the term white on white crime? Ever, ever. And 98% of the time, Never have they used it. And so yeah, because it's a talking point to try to paint black people in a certain light. Oh, Institute for Justice. Okay. Okay. Candace versus Ti. That was a moment. In fact, I'll be doing a video because Candace was like a month ago. She was talking about Ti, and she's still salty. She's still salty over that. IJ is a great channel. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out. But it's like like I'm saying, if you take a look at the obstacles that exist, if you take a look at stuff like loan discrimination, where it's so hard for black people to get capital, to go to a bank, get the capital to start a business. That's why it's not just black owned. We don't just need a sneaker shop. We just don't need a hair shop. We just don't need a club. We need black owned banks. And so with Killer Mike, like the thing he started, like that's just the beginning. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Because to really secure a future for our children, for the black community, to get to a place where these anti-black, whatever groups have anti-black hatred, to get to a point where it's like, you can hate us all you want to, you can't stop us. That's the point. It's to get to a point where you can hate us all you want to, but you can't stop us. Because if we have our own banks, we have our own stores, if we're doing it for ourselves, we can get to a point where we don't it like we control our institutions, and we're not at the mercy of somebody else where they can come in and then cut off loan applications, cut off funding. Then we look at stuff like the Crown Act. If you hear in California, how they were passing a law so that black people aren't discriminated against for wearing their natural hair in the workplace. Guess how we get? I mean, it's nice to have that kind of legislation, but you know what's the actual solution? Where we're owning the businesses, where we don't have to worry about that. Where I own my own company, and the black people don't have to worry about being discriminated against if they're wearing their natural hair, if they're wearing dreads, braids, crowns, froze. They don't have to worry about being discriminated against because black people are owning the businesses. Black people are hiring black people, and we don't need the government to step in and help us. We got this. That's where we need to be, at a point where we can say, we got this. We got us. We are going to protect ourselves. We are going to hire black people. We are going to promote. Like, this is a situation where we can get to an area where we got this for ourselves. And like I said, when we're talking about the state of our communities, when we're talking about the crime, because if you take a look at these youngins aren't just out here on the street corners for no reason. They're out there because they see, if I go to school, and I've said this before, if I go to school 13 years, what good is that? I spent 13 years going to school, and then I can get a minimum wage job at McDonald's? Like, no. Like that's not us. So they're like, if I can hit that corner, move some packs, boom, I make a lot more money like that. Because they don't see a future, they don't see a pathway in the solutions, or in the path being provided by the system, because the system's not actually providing a pathway to prosperity for black youth. They're saying, okay, do this, and you can you can be a cog in the wheel of the system. You can be a low man on the totem pole in making money for the guy that actually owns the McDonald's. You can be a cog in the machine and help Jeff Bezos get even richer. help Jeff Bezos become the first trillionaire. You can work at Amazon, but we don't want you starting your own businesses. But that's where we come in, of actually working on building Black businesses so that we can provide an alternative for Black youth. So you have the kids looking. So you have kids looking at the normal route, the normal route of going through 13 years of school and getting a minimum wage job, or coming to work for a Black-owned business, getting trained. And that's the thing. Like the purpose, what we need to be focused on is not just bringing in employees, but actually giving other Black people a step up so that we can like exponentially grow the infrastructure, grow Black infrastructure exponentially, where youngins can come in and learn, okay, this is how you actually run a business. Not just how you work as an employee, but here's how you actually run a business. Because it works, it will work out in our benefit in the long run anyway. And that affects the family situations. Because if we could look at the way Black families, because a lot of people, do we need red, Black, and green? Do we need Black-owned businesses? Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. We need Black-owned businesses. Exactly. Exactly. Um, we need more than Black-owned businesses. We need Black-owned industries. Oh yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely. We need Black-owned industries. That's what I'm talking about. We need people to come to us for resource. Absolutely. When we own the industries, number one, we can supply Black businesses, and guess what? We can supply non-Black owned businesses. Like, because the whole point is, this isn't about hating anyone else. This is about protecting ourselves. Because 400 years should have taught us that, quite frankly, we really can't depend on anybody else. We can't depend on anybody else, and we can't be entire. We can't just leave our fate in other people's hands. It is not in our best interest. 400 years has taught us that we can't wait and expect other people to look out for our best interest. Nah, listen, you can say that you'll support us, and we appreciate the sentiment, but we'll, just in case, just for the benefit of the doubt, we got ourselves, and if we can deal with each other on an even keel, that's a different story. But we're not just going to be dependent on somebody else. 400 years has taught us that is not an option. That is not an option. Because the other day somebody was talking about how the Black family needs to be built up, and I agree. But there are realities that are influencing why, like, economics affect your ability to start a family. Because if you're starting a family because or moving in with somebody, like, let's say it's not even, you don't even have kids yet, but okay, I meet a chick, hey, let's move in together. And if we're moving in with each other to cut our cost, because like in New York City, cost of living is crazy. The cost of living in New York City is insane. Like, just like the rent, there are apartments that are like the size of a closet in New York City that are, that'll cost you $2,000 a month. It's ridiculous in New York City. But, like, let's say there are so many times you'll see relationships and people moving in together because it's a convenience thing. And so that may have a benefit financially for the time being, but compatibility may not be there. And so if these people wind up having kids, and the compatibility isn't there, then that leads to a broken home. Now, they're together trying to strive to it, trying to stick it out, but they're not really compatible. If at any point they each meet or one of them meets somebody that they're more compatible with, things go south. Now it's nasty. Now they're separated. One parent hates the other, and the kid isn't growing up in a stable household. Like, economics is intricately linked to building stable family structures. And so, once again, you've got those who will talk about family structure, who will talk about, oh, yes, we need two parent families, but they won't talk about the economic aspect because that requires actual policy. So when Larry Elder's running for office and talking about, yeah, we need, two parent homes in the Black community, that's the problem. Okay, well, what's your policy? Well, no, we just need two parent homes. Well, what about, so you have no policy, no solutions, nothing that you're proposing to do to help bring that to fruition, because you don't and that's why you keep talking about two parent homes and stuff like that, because in and of itself there's nothing that you can directly do by law that's going to foster that. But if you're trying to indirectly build up things, then there's policy, but you don't want to deal with that. And that's why they use it, so that they can avoid actually having policy to help the Black community. Yeah, I used to do real estate, and a lot of god awful apartments go for thousands a month. It's crazy in New York City. It's insane. Like, people think we're joking, but it's you can. And these apartments don't even have to look good. These apartments can be broke down, tiny apartments that like you you walk in, you walk in, you walk in, turn to your left, the kitchen, take two steps more, the bathroom, and then a third step, and you're in the bedroom. Like, it's crazy how small apartments are, and then they'll still charge you like $4,000 a month in New York City. It's never about policy, only the rhetoric to get people excited. Yep. But there's another aspect about Black owned businesses that I think we may not take into consideration as much. And if you take a look at right now, a lot of the talk, like what's going on in Hollywood, Black James Bond, right? We want should Idris Elba be the next Black James Bond? And that's happening. That'll happen in movies. They'll put a movie up, and they'll take a character, put a Black character, an actor up there, and say, see, you have representation. And we're like, okay, that's nice. And then you have the Oscars come along, and we're like, great, do you have any Black actors hired? Do you have any Black actors nominated? And a lot of times they won't. This year you do. This year you've got Will Smith and Denzel nominated. But the point is, why do we need to keep begging for representation? Why do we need to keep asking Hollywood, please put some Black actors in this movie? Please put a Black director, hire a Black director. Why do we need to keep doing this? Why? Because we don't own Black media. We don't have Black media. We have, and I believe it was Roland Martin made the statement, you have Black targeted media, but not Black owned media. So there's plenty of media that will target us, but that media isn't being owned by us. But the important part of owning Black media has several benefits. One, the way we look at ourselves. Because if you have somebody else who owns the media, they get to decide what Blackness looks like. So if you have Black authors and comic book writers who have original content, look up Sean James. Okay, definitely got to look that up. Sean James. I know you have that. There's also this guy. At least I know it's at least partially black owned. Um, something Sands, something Sands, the because I saw him not too long ago, and he has these black comic books, and he's getting more funding. I think one of his investors is like his key investor isn't black, but it's at least partially black owned. But we need to get to a place where we've got more black owned authors, comic book, where we're able to have black images being made by black people who have a positive view. Because, quite frankly, because you could have black owned media that's pushing some ridiculous stereotypes in and of itself as well. That's why we need more, so we can have people that are putting out positive black images, positive representations of black people, so young black people can look up and say, okay, I'm seeing positive representations of black people on screen, so that it's not just programming me to think that, oh, this I have to act a certain way to be black. Because literally you have the media trying to use the images it portrays of blackness to define what blackness is. They're using their media, TV, music, where they get to choose what type of music is promoted, what type of rappers are pushed, and they get to tell the kids, this is what's cool, this is what you want to aspire to. And so it has an definite effect on the self-image of young black people. Um, well, the black roles that win awards are those that depict the worst type of people. And Denzel even talked about this. Like, he didn't win the Oscar for Malcolm X, which, like, Denzel did such a great job at Malcolm X. There's so many people that when you say Malcolm X, they don't see Malcolm X in their mind. They see Denzel. That's how good he did. Like, he just killed it. But they gave him and even Jadakiss had the line, why what Denzel had to play it crooked before he took it. Yeah, he had to play a crooked cop to get the Oscar. Um, the media tells us all we can be is an athlete, rapper, or criminal. Exactly. Exactly. And so that's why you have so many black young people that are like, okay, I gotta play ball all day long to see if I'm good enough. And if they're not good enough, then what do? Okay, can I rap? I can't rap. So they hit the block and start hustling. Like, because these are the options being presented by the media. And anything else, like, they're not even like, so that black kids aren't actually seeing a path forward as a black doctor, a black lawyer, a black engineer, a black inventor. They're not seeing these as options. This isn't being promoted to them as options. So it doesn't even seem real. It's not even something that they think of as being attainable for them. Sean's characters promote positive image of blacks. Okay, definitely. Sean, Bronx native. Interesting. Okay, that's really interesting. John Haynes series, ISIS series, Venturella. Yeah, definitely. In fact, yeah, I mean, like, you've got black authors, like Octavia Butler. I like Octavia Butler because she's a black sci-fi author, and so I see because, of course, you got your hood novelists. So there's plenty of black people that write hood novels, which is, it's a genre, but there's more. So I would love to see black sci-fi being made. And now that you like somebody like Jordan Peele, who's doing black horror, I'm like, yes, that's these are definite steps in the right direction. But we need to start being owned. We need to be owning the distribution, the studios, so that, once again, we're not at the mercy of somebody else to get a movie made. So, like, when Nate Parker wants to make Birth of a Nation, he doesn't have to scramble. Like he had to scramble to make up the movie so that he could make a movie about Nat Turner. Awesome movie, awesome historical figure. Like Nat Turner was that, seriously. But there's so many more types of this types of projects that can be created, that if we own it, if we own the media, if we own the movie studio, if we own the distribution, like we don't have to get approval. We don't have to wait for somebody else to give us green lights. And yeah, we don't really like the message of this movie, because that's basically what it would be. Like, yeah, could you tone it down? We don't really want so much anger. Yeah, we think that the angry black man, that might scare people. So just change this and this, and then at that point, it's not even the same story being told. Then and he had the mannerisms down pat. Denzel's performance at wow. Like, you go back when you get a chance, watch actual footage of Malcolm, and then compare it to Denzel's portrayal, and you'll be like, wow. Just realizing how much work he put into absolutely nailing that role. The modern rap industry, music funded by white people, performed by black people for the consumption of. But okay, so now we talked about self-image, but there's another component, the image of black people that's being projected to others. Because there are white people in middle America, there are non-black people out of the country that have never spent time around black people, but they will watch, they'll watch rap videos, they'll watch these movies, and they will get an image of what a black person is. This is what's being promoted to them. This is what's being shown to them. And this is what they get to think, oh, that's what a black person, that's how black people act. And if you look at these depictions, they'll be like, ooh, black people are violent. Black people are dangerous. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, we want to stay away from black people. Like, this is the images that are being put into people's minds. They're using the media, they're using Hollywood, they're using rap videos, they're using the industries, the music industry, to paint false and negative pictures of black people in the public's mind. So when the cop rolls up and he sees the young kid who's wearing, he's wearing regular clothes, but the cop will automatically associate, oh, this is a thug. Oh, this is dangerous. And then before the kid can even put his hands up in the air, like, hey, I'm not a threat. Cop is already firing. Like, these images have actually gotten young black men and women killed. Because not just young black men. I mean, you have your Sandra Bland, you've got your you've got young black women that have been killed. You got Breonna Taylor. You know, like this this stuff doesn't. These images, these negative depictions of black people, have very real world effects. That's why we need to own our media. We need to be able to craft our own narrative so that we can say this is who we are. Now, there's some people who don't want to know the truth. I'm not worried about them. But there's some people who are just ignorant of the truth. There's some people who just have no clue. And those are the people that we need to say, whoa, 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 whoa. Don't believe that this is who we are. Show them images of us that make it clear that no, that's not how it is. These stereotypes are not who we really are. Representation matters isn't just a buzz phrase. Representation really does matter. Listen, it's evident, because case in point. So a couple of years ago, um, I'm running a political meeting. So we are having like our monthly meeting. Uh, so you had some new people coming in, and before the meeting starts, we're just chatting. We're talking about regular stuff and current events because it's political meeting. So current events is part of the stuff we talk about. So we get to talking about the new people that come. They're like, oh yeah. So I'm like, so where you at politically? Who are your political influences? And they start talking about they like Ben Shapiro. They're not, they definitely don't agree with the left. But then there's people on the right that they think are just rhinos or whatever, and don't actually stay true to certain principles. I'm like, okay. They said they like Ben Shapiro because of the way he analyzes things. I said, okay. And so then we started talking about current events, and we started talking. Somehow the conversation got to Chicago. So if you've ever had a conversation with a person on the right and the conversation gets to Chicago, you see where this conversation is going. So we're talking about Chicago, and of course, we get to the most common phrase of Chicago, wherever any person, whenever the majority of these surface conservatives will talk about Chicago, it gets to the conversation of black on black crime. Yeah, the murders is just crazy, and these liberal policies, they're just, they're not helping, and we need to do something about it. And I'm like, they're like, yeah. I said, well, yes, crime is a problem, violent crimes particularly, because there's certain crimes that shouldn't be a problem, but that's another story. But I said, yeah, violent crime is a problem that needs to be tackled all over the country, not just in Chicago. And they're like, yeah, but Chicago, it's really bad. I mean, like the murder rate in Chicago is just crazy. And then you've got these, these young black guys killing each other just at such a rate. It's just, and so I says, well, the interesting thing about Chicago is their clearance rate for murders. Do you know what their clearance rate is? So, but by clearance rate, I mean the rate at which these murders are solved. So it's one thing for a murder to happen, but then it's another thing for that murder to actually be solved. I said, "Do you know what the clearance rate for murders in Chicago are?" They were like, "No, no." In fact, they didn't even know what clearance rate was. I needed to actually explain the clearance rate to them. I said, "Okay, well, explain what clearance rates were." And then they were like, "Well, no, I don't know what clearance rates are." I said, "Take a guess. Just guess. Guess what do you think the clearance rates are?" And they were like, what, 85, 90%?" I says, so you think that they're solving these murders at about like 85, 90%? I says, no, that's incorrect. The clearance rate for murders in Chicago is less than 20%. They said, what? I said, yes. So less than 20% of these murders are being solved. And they were just shocked. I was like, yes. So they were like, well, that doesn't mean, but still plenty of murders. I said, yes, still plenty of murders. But if the clearance rate is less than 20%, how can you say this is the product of black on black crime? You don't know who's committing these crimes. These murders are unsolved. And they stopped. They got quiet for a second. But I mean, it's gotta be. I said it's gotta be. What do you know about Chicago? What what knowledge of Chicago do you have to say that it's gotta be black people committing these murders? And they got quiet. I said, yes, that's right. You've assumed based on what you've seen on TV, the narrative that's pushed to you on TV, that these have to be black people committing these murders. You have no knowledge of that. You have no knowledge, no facts. I said, remember, Ben, you like Ben Shapiro, right? Facts don't care about your feelings. So the facts don't support your feeling that black people are committing all these murders in Chicago. That was the only time they came to our meetings. So first and last time they had come to the political meeting. I maybe I came on a little bit too strong. My bad. Dion, welcome, welcome. Awesome, awesome. um, I'm a Tabasco Black. Yeah, welcome to the stream. um, why not mention California? Yeah, it's the Bronx. Yeah, it's not Bronx. It's got to be the Bronx. But yeah, I mean, because Chicago is the buzzword. Chicago is the famous, the most favorite, the favorite topic, so that they can push this tired ass talking point of, oh, black crime, black on black crime. But like I said, if you don't know if the clearance rates aren't even the murders aren't even solved, then we don't know who's committing these murders. Um, Stop making my brain think counter the narrative. Exactly. But that like there's certain times when you gotta let people know, hey, facts go both ways. Facts go both ways. Facts just don't go the way you want them to go. Yeah, so this was an LP meeting. This was about this was when I was the chair of the Manhattan Party. Um, so I'm thinking, what was that? 20 It's like 2019, 2018. Yeah. But that was the first and only time that that couple had come to the meeting, come to an LP meeting. Yeah, facts kill a good story. Yeah, facts kill a narrative. But like that's why it is so important to have business like black media owned by black people, where we don't have somebody else just pushing out this fake narrative about us so that people can say, oh, I've never met a black person. I've never spent any significant amount of time around black people, but I know how black people are because I watch rap videos. You know, yeah, that's a really good channel. Absolutely, absolutely. Definitely watch African Diaspora News Channel. Was this meeting in? Yes, exactly. The Ukrainian, which from what I hear, we don't have anymore. And not just because of recent events, but because because you see, I haven't been to meetings lately because the key to New York City just ended. So now I can actually go inside a restaurant. um, but when you're talking about having a black agenda, because like right now you have agendas being made for black people by non-black people, and that's on the right and the left. Because if you take a look at Ice Cube comes out and starts criticizing people, criticizing the Democrats, and criticizing the way that the politics are being handled of they're not even offering black people anything. They're not even pretending to come up with a black agenda. They're just saying, vote for us because it's us. Like that's literally what they were saying. And so Ice Cube came forward and they attacked. They just attacked him. But that's why we need black media where that message can be pushed forward without fear and without interference from other groups just trying to push their agendas. Um like the Russian. Yeah, no, it really well, I don't know about the Russian TV, but I know that like the people there are really Ukrainian. No black agenda, exactly. No black agenda, no vote. Now with Ice Cube, they so listen when Ice Cube, for anybody doesn't remember, Ice Cube came out during the 2020 election, and he came out in like May with this. He said, "Listen, we need a black agenda." Just saying, "Oh well, Trump is bad, vote for us." That's not enough. You need to have an actual black agenda. And he came out with something, put it forward. So he puts it forward. Ice Cube puts his agenda forward, and now it's partially, put together, but he's still putting more information as time goes. Now, when he first comes out with it, the media completely ignores him. Completely ignores him. They don't even want to talk about it. So I'm seeing it on social media, and a couple of like independent media cover it. A couple of independent media sites cover it. He's on the internet doing. He comes out with this website. He's like, "This is what we need to do." At this point, Joe Biden isn't even the official nominee, and he hasn't even chosen a running mate. But Ice Cube is saying we can't just let somebody say, "Okay, bully us into voting." We need to tell them you need to actually have a black agenda. So when he does this, time goes by, and then the independent media that's covering it, the word starts getting out, and more people start like, you know what, Ice Cube's got a point. So now we we go past June, we go past July, we go past August, we get to September, and now a lot more people are talking about Ice Cube and his contract with Black America. And now they're worried. Now the mainstream is worried because it's picking up steam. They didn't want to talk about it at all. They wanted to pretend it didn't even exist. They were like, okay, if we just don't talk about it, it never happened. That's what they would. That's what they were. That's what they were hoping. But social media just ramped it up, and people were like, yes, we need a black agenda. Then they said, okay, we need damage control. We need to all hands on deck. We need to stop Ice Cube. Then you have a bunch of the punditry class that comes out and starts attacking. April Ryan does a live stream with him, and April Ryan is a political reporter. She uses her knowledge of politics to try to embarrass him. And she starts off with crafting this narrative as if he's a Trump supporter, because she talks about how he's rich, he has a lot of money, and how Trump's policies will help him. And then, like, that's all in her introduction. So she starts out crafting this image as if Ice Cube is a Trump supporter, and then she gets into it, and it's just constantly just like trying to pick apart everything he says. Same thing. A bunch of other people come out. He goes on Fox Soul. They attack him, and they start making false claims, like they're claiming he endorsed Trump. Then, like, they just put so much pressure on him that eventually the election goes. Biden says, "Oh yeah, we'll meet with you." They never meet with him, and now if you look at some point, Ice Cube just removed it from his website, removed the link, and stopped talking about it, because they just came out with so much pressure on him that he just said, "Okay, let me just leave it alone." And it's crazy, because he was actually making sense about talking about, now, even if you don't agree with his black agenda, the need for a black agenda is real. The need for a black agenda is real. But guess what? If we want a black agenda to exist, if we want a black agenda to be promoted, we need black media to be promoting it. Because if it's Fox News or CNN, then it's not. Then black agendas won't be pushed. It'll be Democratic agendas and Republican agendas. Black agendas are out the window. Well, Roland Martin fell off hard. Talk about him. Well, listen, there's a reason why Roland Martin is in the thumbnail. There's a reason, because Roland Martin, he has been talking about some things that are very pertinent to black business, and some things that have recently happened. So we'll get right back to that. Um, Sounds about right. You saw that interview. Yeah. What about, yeah, like They kept on coming up with all kinds of things to try to attack him on that. Blue team did get scared that black men didn't vote for. Yeah, yeah. And that's what they did want. They don't want black people to actually have an option. They don't want black people to have an option, because then they don't have to actually do anything. They can just say, well, at least we're not the Republicans. And when Republicans are just absolute trash, because here's the thing, Trump came up with the platinum plan, right? So a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, that was great. Okay, he came out with the platinum plan. Platinum plan. He gets on the debate stage. Not Charles Krauthammer. Wallace. Wallace asked him, "What is your plan for Black America? What agenda? What policy do you have for African Americans?" Donald Trump. Now, this is the perfect opportunity for him to talk about the Platinum Plan. He says, he starts talking about the crime bill, that the 94 crime bill, the Violent Crime Control Law Enforcement Act that Biden wrote, which, quite frankly, yeah, was horrible. But he says, yeah, that was horrible for black Americans, and we got to do it. We got to do away with that. And I passed the First Step Act, and I'm good on criminal justice. And then he spent the next a minute and 30 seconds praising police. He was asked, what is he doing? What policy does he have for African Americans? And he spent 20 seconds talking about Joe Biden's crime bill, his First Step Act, and then the rest of the minute and a half, he praised police officers. Not once during the debates did Donald Trump mention the Platinum Plan. So that's why you can, like, the idea was nice, but he backed away from it and he clearly was not committed to providing an alternative, a viable alternative. And as long as Republicans keep doing that, black people don't really have a good choice between the Republicans and the Democrats. Foxo, is that the group of failed actresses? A bunch of spinsters. The Platinum Plan would have been great. Listen, did anybody see Sonny Johnson talking to Donald Trump at the White House? Whoo! That was amazing. Sonny Johnson talking to Donald Trump at the White House, because that woman is like fearless. So it was funny because there's some black there's some black dudes there just kissing Trump's butt. She gets there and says, okay, yeah, that's well and good. She said, Platinum Plan is well and good, but if you're just federal funding, if you're just saying, oh, this money is for these areas, federal funding in itself doesn't actually help the black community, because that money still has to go through the political powers that be in those areas. So if federal money is allotting this amount of money to this area, the political class that's running that area still gets to, and in black-owned city, it's going to be the Democrats. You're going to have the Democrats that control how that money gets used. So it's still, then at that point, it's not going to black-owned businesses, to black-owned to build up the black community. It's being directly funneled to the cronies of those politicians, to the cronies of those political leaders in that area. So it's not being done to promote black interests. It's being done to secure and to cement democratic interests. So people that are connected and that are loyal to the Democratic Party, they're getting the money. That's what it is. And she breaks it down like just, and like Trump, and that's the thing. Here's my problem with Trump. Trump was not, well, here's one of my problems with Trump. Trump was not serious about solutions, and Trump was not serious. Like Trump, so like when she went through all of that, it went completely over Trump's head, and like he just like went back to a talking point about, but they don't want to defund the police, right? Like, did you listen to anything she just said? So, I mean, federal money is only as good as the people that are dispersing it will be. But like the best solution is if we have direct control over the money, because we can't trust the federal or the state and local governments to take care of us. They actually made this new civic education program geared towards black men to educate them on voting. I'm pretty sure the education goes something like that. Yes, and if you see a D next to the name, you click yes. That's who you vote for. If you see a D next to the name, if you see an R next to a name, no, you don't vote for him. Okay? Do you understand? Okay, that's the that's the level of education I'm guessing um, they have. FYI, if you go to the Department of Justice website, Trump still has pardoned and commuted more people than Biden has to present. So, yeah, every other week, Trump is letting black people out of jail. Joe Biden, like when Joe Biden got the nomination, when Joe Biden won that Saturday, when Joe Biden won the election, and I'm headed to work, so I'm at Central Park, and there are people in the street, like people are waving signs and cheering, and I'm like, you mother, like I'm so pissed because I hate Joe Biden with a passion. With a passion. Like I know what the Violent Crime Control Law Enforcement Act did. And that's just one of the horrible pieces of legislation that Joe Biden enacted that destroyed the black community. Just one piece of legislation. There's the 100-to-1 legislation. It's the 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act. Like so much horrible things. So like I knew Joe Biden was going to be absolute garbage on criminal justice because the policies that created mass incarceration were his policies. He literally wrote these bills. He literally wrote the laws that cause mass incarceration. So okay, that's why black owned is so important. Because if we have the ownership, so if we own black media, if we own if we're in control of our institutions, we don't have to depend on anybody else to save us. We can save ourselves. Like that's the key of black owned businesses. And then it goes to black leadership because true, the money filters down and it's pennies when it gets to actually helping anyone. um the anything is better than like that was their motto. That was it. That was the motto, you know. um but when we're talking about black leadership right now, the black leadership that exists, they're not actually leaders. They're like employees, they're agents, they're shills, they're they're somebody, they're appointed by people outside the black community to control the black community. So you've got these people that are being placed into positions of leadership by non-black interest to control the black community. Just start looking at them. Like when you see the person that they're putting, these pundits that they're pushing in front of us. We're not choosing these people. They are. And they're choosing these people based on how closely and how vigorously these people are promoting their interest. So as long as you're promoting the Democratic Party line, okay, you get the thumbs up and you get pushed forward. Joy Reid. Joy Reid will do what they tell her to do. They give her the script, This is what she promotes. And they have it on the right, they have it on the left. Either way, where they have these, where they're selecting black leaders and then putting them in front of the black community because this is what they want. They're using these people to control and to attempt to control the black community. If we want actual black leaders, we need to own the media, whether it's print, whether it's streaming, internet, TV. We need to control the media to be able to say, these are people that are actually fighting for our interest. These are people that actually have the black community's prosperity, the black community's future, the black community's progress as their primary objective. Because there's a bunch of people out now that have a political party's agenda as their primary objective, and their job isn't to sell our interest to the party. Their job is to sell the party's interest to us. But when we actually own black media, then we cannot continue. Exactly. So this is what I'm saying. So it's important that we just not have some random. So because like let's say Lil Wayne owns a network. I don't know if you've heard Lil Wayne talk outside of rapping, but Lil Wayne, like you know how that Bill Cosby had that show, Kids Say the Darndest Things. Lil Wayne says the stupidest things. Like little, so if let's say if Lil Wayne owns a television station, we're gonna need more black owned stations because that one's not gonna cut it. Like we if Lil Wayne owns the radio, the television station, we're not going to be able to depend on that station to depict positive and intelligent uh, representations of black people. We're not going to be able to depend on it. It's just that's just the fact. Um, like I am tired of rappers and sports stars talking to us about politics when they themselves are anything but a leader. Sometimes it feels like only our community promotes entertainers as leaders. Um, but see, here's the thing I think about that. Just automatically disqualifying entertainers because some of these cats have more heart than so like Joy Reid is Harvard educated. She's a Harvard graduate. This woman is incredibly intelligent. But if I have to choose between her and Ice Cube, who do you think I'm rocking with? Like Ice Cube is actually showed more heart in trying to fight the system. But he got attacked and they sent all of the black intelligentsia at him to stop him. And that's what they used against him. They say, "Oh, you're just a rapper. We have, college degrees. Shut up and listen to us. Stay in your lane." That's who they sent to silence Ice Cube. They sent April Ryan. Ebony Williams getting that told him, "Oh, don't. He has too many issues. You just stick to one issue." There's not. No other community is told to just stick to one issue. No other community. But that's what they tell us. They'll tell us just to stick one issue, and that one issue will be voting. And if you look on the community tab, I did a poll. I said, "What do y'all think the most important issue or like issue is to the black community?" I said the diaspora wars, the gender wars, the voting rights, and student loan debt. Voting rights was last, dead last. Then student loan debt. And then the main two issues that were of importance were the gender wars, this old black man versus black woman thing, and the black Americans versus black immigrant thing. Those were the two most important issues. But right now, you're not hearing any of that being addressed by the powers that be. But they're talking about voting rights. Why? Because voting rights don't benefit us. Voting rights benefit them. Because that's just an opportunity for us to put them in power. Because that's the only extent to which they're talking about voting rights. They're not talking about voting rights to actually give us more options. They're talking about voting rights just so that we can go to the booth and click. Like remember like a few minutes ago when I was talking about They'll tell you just vote for the D. Yeah, that so we just circling the box next to the D, next to the person that has Democrat next to their name. Because like right here in New York during 2020, they used the pandemic, the lockdown, to change the voting laws in New York City, and not just the voting laws, the political party laws to choose what can actually define a political party. They changed the law and got rid of like three different political parties. So now it's Democrat, Republican, and then they each have a proxy party. That's it. That's the only choices. But the actual independent parties, they got away with. They eliminated in New York, and they used the pandemic to do it. This was Democrats, all Democrats. So when it comes to voting rights, they want us to be able to vote, but they want to make sure we can only vote for them. Um, I have Lil Wayne agrees with Morgan Freeman. Listen, Lil Wayne. See, Morgan Freeman said Morgan Freeman said that just real stupid stuff about Black History Month. Let me try to see if I can remember what he said. I want to get rid of Black History Month. Why? You want to relegate the history of my people to one month? Do they have a White History Month? And the guy that he's talking to says, "Well, I'm Jewish." He says, "Well, do they have a Jewish History Month?" And the answer is yes. They have both White History Months and Jewish History Month, but neither of those two knew it. But we'll continue with the interview. As he goes, well, the Jewish guy says, "Well, no, I don't want them to, have a Jewish History Month or relegate it to just a month." And then Morgan Freeman says, "Well, then why do you want to relegate the history of my people to just 1 month? You want to stop racism? Stop talking about it. That's how you stop racism." But by the way, that's the dumbest advice. That's probably the dumbest advice ever given. Like, I actually, like, how do we stop cancer? Stop talking about it. That's how you stop cancer. How do you stop war? Stop talking about it. That's You want to stop poverty? We just stop talking about it, and poverty will end. It's the stupidest. It was the stupidest things ever said. But there's a bunch of white conservatives who every Black History Month they will keep retweeting that stupid interview between Morgan Freeman and the guy from 60 Minutes as if he actually said something intelligent. It was dumb as hell. Um, and then when it comes to like Denzel said something like they'll take it out of context, but there's other things that Denzel said that counter, you know. But like Lil Wayne has just said some like ridiculous stuff. Like Lil Wayne says, "Oh, well, I love cops because there was a white cop who was nice to me, and so cops, I don't have a problem with cops. Like I don't care that cops are killing black people, you know, because they're nice to me." That's the extent of Lil Wayne's yeah, so if we're going to talk about Lil Wayne not being a leader, I'm 1,000% on. But there's some artists out there that have a much higher consciousness and that are actually willing to stand on principle. Um, and so, like, I like take a look at what Muhammad Ali did. Like, he took a principled stance to stand against, and so automatically just saying I will look at the rapper, at the athlete on a case by case basis, determine is this person actually about Kwame Brown. Like right now, you got Kwame Brown dropping science on the internet. And he used the controversy, he used all the drama surrounding him to flip it into let's talk about actually solving problems. Let's talk about let me actually get people that are doing stuff, doing work in the community. I've got hundreds of thousands of subscribers. I'll bring these people onto my channel, onto my platform, and let them promote their thing. Let them get some more eyes, some more attention to these projects that they're working on. If they're building houses for the poor, if they're giving out, sandwiches and food for poor kids, poor students who don't, so that they can, they're not hungry at school. They can learn better. If they're promote, like he's talking about promoting coding, because that's a better option for kids than just a minimum wage job. Actual careers and actual learning, actual skills that can build for their future. Mm. Reject scholars and others who are not stereotypes. Yeah. We need to get rid of the Tatums, ABLs, Candace Owens before we can move forward. I think they're screwing black people over whenever they get a chance to talk. Here's the thing: we need to counter them. We need to counter them. Like, but like, that's why you'll be very mindful that they will talk in these bubbles and these echo chambers, because they won't actually when they won't actually go head to head with somebody that knows what they're talking about. Because if they're dealing with somebody that knows what they're talking about, that person can completely dismantle the nonsense that they say. So when Tatum is acting like the Tulsa massacre didn't happen, somebody can actually just start dropping facts on him and say, "Dude, you're an idiot." Like, you literally are choosing to ignore historical events that are documented historical events, just to fit and just to please your base. You're trying to kiss up to these white conservatives, so you're trying to say, "Hey, no, that's not real. You can't trust what black people say." Like, these are stupid things he literally said. But if you have the facts, if you have the knowledge, you can dismantle what they say, and that's what need to be doing. But so it's important for us to be getting our message out there so that we can counter the foolishness that comes out of their mouths. The Larry Elders, Thomas Sowell. Yeah, a lot of people. There's a lot of libertarians that like Thomas Sowell. I'll reserve my opinion of Thomas Sowell for a later date. I'm with Blexic, New York. It's a good concept, like National Action Network. The organization is a good idea, not the mouthpiece like Sharpton or Candace Owens. Listen, there definitely need to be non platforms and organizations that aren't that just aren't just one way. So I think it's in the black community's interest to say to the Republican Party, "What do you have to offer?" It's absolutely within our interest, because whether or not we actually plan to go with them, it's the key to negotiation is to actually present an alternative. So if the Democratic Party knows that, okay, if we say, "Listen, Democratic Party, what do you have?" We have a George Floyd statute. Okay, Republicans, what do you have? Democrats like, we have a Breonna Taylor statute too. Like, listen, what do y'all got? Like, we can actually play them against each other, so they're actually saying, "Okay, this is what we're actually going to do," and that's like just the beginning of actually being able to exercise greater political power, of actually saying, "Well, we're willing to listen to what these people are saying," because then that puts the pressure on them to actually come up with something more than, we're gonna make we're gonna put Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. Beautiful. How does that actually improve our lives? Listen, Harriet Tubman was a G, absolute G, and she absolutely deserves to be honored. Once again, that doesn't change all of the policies or address any of the uh, systematic policies and systematic problems that we have within our community. Um, like, there's a difference between Killer Mike, LeBron James. Yes, Killer Mike is, Killer Mike is doing his thing, and once again, they come out and attack him. The intelligentsia, the Democratic establishment will attack him because, one, He's not towing the party line when it comes to gun control. So he's a problem. The progressives and the socialists social will attack him because he talks about capitalism. Like, no, no, we can't have black capitalism. Like, we need to be completely at the mercy of the government. Yeah, I don't think y'all thought this all the way through, but I'm just saying. And then, so like they have to attack and they try to belittle these rappers by saying, "Oh, well, you're not one of us." But then I'm like, but for all your expertise, for all your knowledge of politics, for all your 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 college degrees, your Harvard educations, why have you accomplished nothing on the behalf of black people? Like, that's a real thing. They always think, yes, yes. Voting rights, like the dude that was fasting, the dude not fasting, the dude was on a hunger strike for who was it that got at him? There was somebody. So somebody on Twitter says um, when they announced that Ketanji Brown Jackson is being interviewed this week for the Supreme Court position, and somebody says, I think it might have been Shamika Michelle. It sounds like something Shamika Michelle would say. She goes, "Oh, have you started eating again because of this performance, this performative, this performative action that's been taking place for Black progress?" But like, yeah, it's they have their go-to solutions that don't actually work for us. Like voting rights, all that does is give, like, you're giving us the power to put you in power. That's what they're saying. You're giving us the power to give you more power. Wait a minute. That how does that help us? New York, yes, absolutely. The ballot access, absolutely destroyed, and they did it on purpose. They did it on purpose. The working family parties, yeah, they're just proxy. So they're Republican light and Democrat light. He destroyed the Independence Party because it sounded too much like the Independent Party, and people would vote thinking it was one same. Yep, they wanted to make sure they control. So having the right, how valuable is having the right to vote if they choose the only two people you can vote for? How valuable is the right to vote if they control exactly who you can vote for? It's either this or this. How valuable is that? Is that right? Thank you. I need more practice, but I felt I did that pretty good, pretty decent. Okay, yeah. In fact, you okay? In fact, let me pull you up, Dion. Um, I'm gonna put the link in the I'm gonna put the link in the description. Um, hold on one second. Let me see. I gotta figure out how to do this. Copy. Um, yeah, come on in, Dion. Um, the link is in there for you, Dion. Um, yeah, Kaepernick is really fake. Let me tell you why Kaepernick. You're talking about, you're a $40 million slave and everything, and then you're trying out to be back in to be a $40 million slave. Like, I thought you didn't want to be a slave anymore. And then you're trying out to be back in to be a $40 million slave. Like, I thought you didn't want to be a slave anymore.
Exactly.
And then you're trying out to be back in
Let me put on. Let me put a respectable shirt.
Okay, yeah. Whenever you're ready, you come back in. Um, but the it's crazy because this like they know what they're doing. The Democrats absolutely know what they're doing um, in 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 dangling voting rights as a solution and knowing it only benefits them. They know exactly what they're doing. Um,
Okay, I'm back. Man, man, man. Here we go. Here we go. Got something inappropriate. I put on a nice top for the ladies. It's gonna be funny. Where's the link? I can put this in Facebook, right?
yeah, yeah,
All right, boom.
yes, definitely. Um, but yeah. I mean, please, yeah, you gotta let me know your thoughts, man.
All right. So the one thing I want to touch upon was you didn't want to touch Thomas Sowell, so we're going to another day, like you said before.
Okay.
Well, I was going to go back to Morgan Freeman. The
Okay.
point that Morgan Freeman makes. Now, some of these things people say are outlandish, but like all things, you got to look at it from different angles, like you do.
Okay.
And which Black History Month, the purpose was to remember all its pride, but instead it just rehashes the same old hurt and anguish. So it's like we have a scar in Black America, right? And
Right.
every February we take a knife and we just twist the same wound, get it nice and juicy with the chanting and the marching and the head clubbing and all this other garbage, which is valid. But then in order to move forward in our mindset, it doesn't really do much for us in our past generations. Case in point, the Asians. Oh my God, Dion, the railroad. You know, my grandpa had to build a railroad. Never heard that once from my friends. And so, well, yeah, Dion, you know, there was a railroad situation we heard of, you know. I was like, yeah, but I'm Black, man. You're supposed to be mad like me at the white mill. Look at these laws. You know, you could be just doing dry cleanings and selling Chinese food. Aren't you mad like us? Yeah, Dion, but, you know, we're just keeping it moving over here in Chinatown. We're good. So I'm like, why can't we do something like that? It was all right. This is in our backdrop, but we're going to be focused. And that's the only problem that we at Blexit, if you want to call it Blexit, you want to put a name brand on it, have a problem with. But I'm trying to you become a member too, by the way. Blexit.
um, wait, is there an echo?
No.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, so here's the thing. So I know what there's certain things, certain problems I have with Black History Month, and it's the way that it's dealt with. So they will start with slavery, and then everything past then is great. So if you just start with slavery, and they will handpick certain historical figures because they want to control who they promote, like who's the acceptable Blacks. Like, yeah, you can celebrate Martin Luther King as long as you just talk about I have a dream speech. But we don't want to really talk about Malcolm X. He's too radical. We're definitely not going to talk about Nat Turner. We're not going to talk about we're not going to talk about Denmark Vesey or anybody else that actually, you know, gripped up and went to war against slavery. So I think that there's a way that Black history can and should be handled. Um, so like if you listen to the way Sonny Johnson, her perspective is, because it was a Republican, it was to tie the history of the Republican Party to the Black community. Because Carter G. Woodson wanted to make sure people realized how the good relationship that existed one time between Republicans and the Black community. I think now it's even more necessary because if we're talking about something like reparations, we need to know the history because we know bits and pieces, but there's so many people who don't know the Black Wall Street. They don't know what actually killed Black Wall Street. So they'll know about the Tulsa massacre because the anniversary was it last year or the year before?
Right.
They'll know about the anniversary, but they won't know that Black Wall Street actually rebuilt, and then urban renewal. Federal government used the Highway Act and urban renewal to destroy Black Wall Street for the final time. Like, this is how we're really going to kill it. because they rebuilt Black Wall Street in like
But
2 years, and they were thriving. And then the federal government came in and says, okay, eminent domain, um, don't worry, we'll fix things up. Built a highway right through Black Wall Street, and they did it repeatedly. So while you know, like I saw on Fox News, I forgot the guy's name. Um, he was like, well, yeah, but the highways, they used infrastructure to against poor blacks and whites. I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. They used infrastructure against poor whites. They used it against wealthy blacks. They intentionally used the infrastructure to stop black wealth. So, I mean, I think we need to be aware, and Black History has to be an all around year thing. But if we're not even talking about it at all, but so it does come all back to this black ownership.
okay,
If we own the media, we can make sure we don't need Black History Month. Like that's the thing. Black History Month is something that's being given to us because we don't own anything. If
right.
we own the media, we don't need Black History Month. We have black media that talks about black history all the time that we need it.
That's actually right. And so you go back to the point of the media with Black History Month. Seeing though we have this new Black History, well, not new Black History Month, but who is controlling the Black History Month information and disseminating as well? For example, there was a documentary I watched the other day on YouTube that popped up thanks to these things called, in the 60s, The Great Black Middle Class. I'm like, wow, this is a great documentary. Why aren't they putting this documentary all day, every day in Black History Month? Let's just have one Black History Month in 1 year where we talk about nothing but positive stuff that happened in our Black history from the slave ship here. Just have freaking LeVar Burton do a whole new reboot with Avery Brooks and everybody. They come like, hey, we're gonna talk about nothing but positive from February 1st to the 29th. How about that leap year? What remix? And it's like, all right, let's just see these positive images doing great things. Bill Cosby, Sidney Poitier, sleep in peace, this one, that one, and just doing nothing but great things for the entire month. No police brutality, nothing, cooperation, and nothing. I don't think that would ever happen because you still need that element of, how does it say, controversy sells, and that's what's the problem. That's the economics that sells, is the controversy and the violence and the hurt and the anguish and the struggle. I mean, good news doesn't really do much for us, and that's the problem that we're having. That's why we go back to Blexit again. Critical race theory. Black History Month was like a big thing, but now it's critical race theory that we're actually showing people. But back to your point of black economics, right? If you want to call it that, even with Black history, critical race theory, and all stuff, who is actually getting paid at the end of the day of disseminating this curriculum and implementing this curriculum? And what does it do to advance our cause? Black history and critical race theory on the curriculum, SAT scores, Ivy League schools. If our children across the board have a comprehensive understanding of these materials, will they be able to break through the academic walls to get into these fine, pristine institutions in which great world leaders sprout from, if that makes sense?
I think our objective should be to, okay, so when you're dealing with some of these schools, okay, so like the Ivy League schools, are really they teach the leaders of tomorrow. Like that's the purpose of the Ivy League schools. We can, if we have our own institutions, we can make sure we're teaching leaders, because the other schools, community college teaches people to be workers, high teaches people to be middle class workers, right? College, so let's say community colleges and your standard university, that's to teach people to be middle class and middle management. Then the Ivy League teaches upper management and the leaders, the captains of industry. The high schools teach us to be cogs in the machine, teach us to be the low wage workers. That's what high school is. So if we don't go past high school, that's all we're gonna get. You can work at McDonald's, you can work. If we control our own K to 12 education and our own colleges, we can make sure we're training all of our kids to be leaders. Like we
Right.
don't need a Harvard. Like we can teach, we can implement curriculums that have kids graduating from high school with the mindsets to be better leaders than people graduating from Harvard.
Right. Yeah, see, now I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm gonna be the devil's advocate, the black devil, okay, Blexit, okay, because I'm gonna promote my brand here on the show today, and that's what we're doing at our next event that I'm putting up with critical race theory. We're promoting homeschooling because we at Blexit, we're the only ones that spoke out against the mandates, which hurt our people, and also with education, right? And
Okay,
so
wait. Which mandates? The
vaccine
mask.
mandates in New York,
Okay.
vaccine mandates meaning that we
Well,
lose our
okay.
job,
Okay. So here's the thing, though. Uh, Black Lives Matter, Greater New York. Hawk Newsom, he also spoke out against it.
right?
On and so and there was individuals like I'm suing Eric Adams for it. Like,
Really?
by the way, yeah. By the way, I'm the reason why the key to New York City ended. So let me tell you what happened.
Oh, what did
Let
he
me-
do now?
listen, because that's the first thing I sued him for. I sued him for the key to New York City. I sued him. I filed my lawsuit in December 30th. It went into effect because it started against De Blasio. So once he took over, then we named him as the new defendant. I went to serve him February 15th. So now I had already filed the paperwork. I'd sent him a copy of the complaint, everything. But I go to serve him. So he has a copy of the complaint. He knows I'm suing him for the key to New York. I'm about to tell you what the grounds are. But then I go to serve him on February 15th. Oh, this isn't because I'm not personally serving him. I got
Right.
the process server. Oh, this is the wrong entrance of City Hall. You have to go to the other entrance. So they call me up. I say, yeah. Go, what do you need me to pay? I'll pay it. Go to the other entrance. They go to the other entrance. Oh no, this isn't the right entrance. You've got to go to another entrance. He does this game for like 2 weeks on like February, like it's March 2nd or something. It's a Sunday that he announces, "Oh, I'm ending the key to New York City." That Tuesday, finally, oh yeah, we'll accept service. I says, "Oh, so you think you're slick? You're trying to accept service so that you can now say, oh, well, it's moot. I ended the key to New York City." So on March 6th, the day before the key to New York City ends, right? I go to the federal court and I amend the complaint. Now, I'm not just suing him for the key to New York City. I'm also suing him for the private employer mandate. Now, the case isn't moot. So you tried to finesse it, but you're not going to stop me. You're going to be held accountable.
That's right, black man. We gotta support each other. Love it, man.
But let me tell you the grounds I'm suing. I sued on the key to New York City. I sued it on First Amendment grounds because a lot of people think the First Amendment only applies to being able to speak.
Right.
They don't realize that First Amendment also applies to being able to receive speech. So if you're telling me I can't go to the movie theater, I can't go to the museum, I can't go to plays, you're telling me the city has implemented a law that is stopping me from being able to receive speech freely.
Yeah, censorship.
He couldn't beat it. He knew he couldn't beat that. So he was like, okay, we gotta end this so that I don't get embarrassed in federal court.
Yeah, well, the thing about it is back to education, and that's when I came on board in Blex. I'm the City of New York director of Blex in New York, right?
Okay.
And so when it came to the mandates, that's what I said. I was like, listen, this is going to hurt our people, the right to choose people. Like, oh my God, Mr. Powell, we're so happy you found us because they're making us look really like extreme, crazy racist, and we all know that this is going to hurt the African American community more than anybody. These people quoted the Civil Rights Act like they were the NAACP, right? And so I said, okay, cool, let's do it. No conspiracy theorists. We're going to have religious exemptions, information resources, medical exemptions resources, legal rights resources, and civic engagement. Who represents you and who go to cry to. So with school choice and CRT, critical race theory, we didn't think critical race theory applied to New York. When we tell our Blexit chapters nationally and everywhere else, because Candace Owens and Tatum, quite frankly, they're hands off and it's time for a rally with the cameras, unfortunately. Maybe I'll get written up if somebody sees this. Fine. You know what I mean? And so we're like, all right, critical race theory has something to do with New York because we already have Black history, this, that, and the third. But actually, critical race theory, Aaron, if you come to our meetings, we can actually expose to you the more clandestine aspect of it, where critical race theory, like Black History Month, they link it to certain school funding and grants in which it would behoove the school to actually apply and get them, or else their resources and monies would be pulled away. And that's the dark underbelly after all this good sentiment. Because Thomas Sowell, who I never used the word genius quite often like a little girl. This man broke it down complete as to why these things don't work, but only are used to make you feel good. But in the long run, over time, destroy things. But yes, so we believe that parents are the first educator and teacher from ages 0 to 5 before they set foot on government premises. Because once they're on government premises, they become a part of the state, and then the indoctrination of them therein. So yes, back to education ownership. So once again, I came to our other event and I led, and I said, these are Black-owned homeschooling associations where you can have curriculum from Black educators and families and communities supporting homeschooling your child if you want to be outside of the critical race theory or any other educational systems that you think are racist and the white Karens in the background controlling your children and stuff like that we're doing. So that's what we're actually doing and trying to implement and promote. However, our people on the blue Kool-Aid side demonize us for it. Homeschooling, oh my God, that's horrible. What's wrong with these parents? They got to get vaccinated and all this other stuff.
Listen, I think homeschooling is great, and here's the thing I have about, and it's not necessarily Brexit, but the right itself, the conservatives, they're acting like indoctrination just started. Like school, the second the government got in charge of education, the indoctrination was there. The fact that you have students starting every day praying to the flag, that's indoctrination. Every day that you have those students stand up and pray and make an oath to the United States of America, that's indoctrination. So the problem is, if we're not willing to attack the root of it and say, okay, I'm cool with certain types of indoctrination, but not like I want the government to be able to indoctrinate my kids for this aim, but not for this aim. That's not the problem is going to be solved. So from the Black community perspective, that's why. So when I ran for office, I wanted to change the curriculum, right? But that wasn't the solve. That was the problem solver. That was only a stopgap measure. The actual solution is getting our kids out of these schools, particularly as Black people. This system has waged war on the Black community. Why in the hell would we trust this system to have custody and control of our children for 13 years?
Or better
Like,
yet, or fix our problems for that matter.
exactly, because they're not going to give our kids the education to change the system for their benefit. They're only
Right.
going to teach our kids to keep the system in place. That's the system's job. So from a critical race theory perspective, I think that a lot of that. So when you have is the Kimberly Crenshaws and them, I think their entire objective was looking at things from a lens of how do we. And let me not even talk about Kimberly Crenshaw because I need to do more research. Like I don't know if you see it. Can you
I
see
don't
it
know
from
who
here?
Kimberly Crenshaw is. How about that? I'm just
Okay,
fucking lyric.
okay, okay. No, so she's one of the authors of critical race
Critical
theory.
race theory, right.
So like I've got the book. I've got to do some more reading on it, delve into it deeper. But it's like if you take a look at somebody like a Hannah B.
Gonna be Wells?
Yes, yeah, Hannah, because I'm thinking of her Twitter handle. Her Twitter handle is like Hannah B. Wells, but the 1619 Project author. Um, Even though she's not specifically dealing with critical race theory, her perspective is clearly based on I want to be accepted by the dominant. I want to be accepted. I want white institutions, white people to love me, like, and so I'm like that whole perspective is it's good for her in terms of making her feel appreciated. It doesn't help our kids. It doesn't help Black people in general progress. It's
Right.
like you said. It's like you said. It makes people feel good, and certain people that just want to be accepted, just like please love me, please accept me. Whereas it doesn't actually solve the problems for the Black masses.
Right, yeah. So that's what the problem with the critical race theory and the Black history is, that mental block of progress and moving forward. That's why at Black Set we promote a concept called school choice, which is very dangerous. Like, well, school choice, what you mean? Well, if I'm a parent, I should be able to send my child to any school that I want to send them to based on my own independent research and feelings about it, And they're like, no, we just need to make sure that public schools are properly funded. But then I'll be like, well, in New York State where I'm at, all politics are local, and we pay more per child than any child in a union at any other school. So if I want to go to Catholic school, which parents pay twice, they pay into the Catholic school and they also pay into the public school system. Why couldn't I have my choice to send my kid to where I want them to send to the education I want? Yeshiva. I want my kid to be a nice Orthodox Jew in my firm belief. Let's send them there. Or an Islamic school over here. The Nation of Islam wants to create their own independent schooling system. What's wrong with that? And that's why I think the critical thinking and common sense, two dangerous concepts, come into play. And then you also have to say, well, back to the mandates. Why should I have to waste money sending my child to a building when I just proved that my child can succeed outside of that building? You just want my child to be inside that building to add to your numbers, get the funding, to keep going, to have your union paid off, all the programs in your building function, whereas though my child is actually doing better, and I'm a parent, I have to stay with my child over here remotely. You see what I'm saying? Those are the school choices that my organization would like to promote. That's very demonized early and often, because they're still trying to legitimize going into buildings for community board meetings and things of that nature, where they had actually more members show up remotely than in a physical space.
I definitely believe school choice is better than the current system, but I think we have to go further,
Oh,
and particularly as the Black community. Yeah, definitely.
okay.
Like, listen, I want I want us in charge of our own schools. I want parents like I'm even opposed to compulsory education.
Oh yeah, I get that too.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
with mandatory education,
yeah,
because
yeah.
that's the
Like,
thing. That's why we wanted education so much for us, because it was denied. You see,
right,
when let's not even get into the whole pre-civil rights debacle, because people like,
right.
I'm most people that's like, pre-civil rights, we were better off. I don't care if we live in a shithole with each other, as it were. I'm sorry, I cursed. But anyway, but yes, definitely what you're saying is true, which is mandatory education doesn't work in the sense that now parents are more hands off. Education needs to be an investment. And that's the problem, because it makes people hungry for more. When you deny someone, it makes parents want them children like, no, you got to go to school. This has to happen. You must succeed. Whereas it's, all right, you got to go to school. Fine. You know what? Now the government becomes, the social worker is the mother and the police officer is the father. It's like, all right, now you got to feed my child. So now I don't have to feed my child. That community family formula, Larry Sharp, is not there anymore. And so back to you.
Oh, yeah, and so I'm I want to see a place where we're in control of, because it, like you raised an interesting point of, in terms of parents, the responsibility being taken out of the parents' hands, and then it's like you saw how many parents were upset over schools closing because their babysitter was gone.
Yeah, Trump,
It's like, so that's what this is. That's what this is. It's
they
about
went crazy.
yeah. It's like, that's what the government is saying. We're gonna give us your kids as a babysitter, and you can go about your business. But there's a bigger picture. Like, it's not for free. Like, there's a cost, and not just the monetary cost. The cost of the fact that after being in the custody and control of the government for 13 years,
14,
are they
15.
really? Yeah, are these really your kids anymore? Are they government's kids? The government raised them. So you wanted to talk about how so many people can't see a path, can't even envision a world without government being so big, so large, so in control of everything. The government raised them. Of course, they can't see it.
Yeah, wow, you're gonna hurt people's feelings with that one, Aaron. But the solution, because I'm solution based like you, and I ran for office too. I lost my mind, and like Dave Chappelle, I went to Africa. So one of the things I've seen as a solution so far is there's a new trend of migration, and I believe that a migration experience has to happen to change the mindset, amongst other things. But there are like a top 10 countries in the world where Black people from America are actually migrating to. It's like, you know what? We did what we could here. It's time for us to start anew over here. I went to Ghana, and it was a great experience. I encourage you and your viewers to go to Africa or to another predominantly Black, African, English dominant country. Panama's on the list, Costa Rica's on the list, Spain is on the list, and you could do it there. Because when I went over there, some of the people that my friend knew from like England and these other countries are like, you know what? You you mates in America are crazy. You're over there trying to fight to get a seat at the table, where here in Africa, you could just, create your own table or join any table you want, and everything's all good. It's like if you go to Africa, Aaron, it's like the sense and perversion of racism has been lifted. It's like black on black, black crime, black businesses, black love, black banks. It doesn't exist. The concept doesn't exist because it's already there. It just has to be forced or put on a T-shirt. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
that's why I think, migrating and immigrating is going to be important to change the whole economics. Because the Great Migration, if I could end here, from the south to the north, was the same formula they used from the Caribbean, Africa, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. Is, I move up to the north for a better life. I send down south for cousin so-and-so. They live in my house. Then now, magically, my nanny. I send for neighbor so-and-so in South Carolina. Now, magically, they work in my hardware store, his son. And that's how the unconscious, economics, I think, can be restarted.
I mean, yeah, definitely. Going to Africa, you get to see a different picture, a more holistic picture. But let me just address this comment real quick. So get rid of all public schooling. Now, Kenny, I'm not saying do this tomorrow. I'm saying why is it the government's job to teach our kids? And if we believe that it is the government's job to teach our kids, what are they teaching our kids? Are they teaching our kids? So, from a black perspective, is the United States government the government that has committed crimes and atrocities against black people for hundreds of years, that has refused to acknowledge its the level of crimes, and refuses to be held responsible and accountable for those crimes? How can we possibly trust that government to raise our kids? And so now, if we take it outside of the black community, why would anybody want the government raising their kids? I'm just curious. Like, what about the government makes it a prime actor to raise somebody else's children? So if like, just take a look at how these white folks in the Midwest and in Florida and everything is acting up. They're like, no, we don't want you teaching our kids liberal values. Okay, well then teach your kids yourself. Like, that's the simple solution. But you're sending your children to somebody else, and then you're mad that that person is teaching your kid the way they want to teach them. If
Well,
they
that's
actually,
sorry to cut you off, Aaron. That goes
yeah,
across the board for me with our people. Is that,
yeah,
especially when it comes to public safety, crime, and all this other stuff, you want to call the cops or 911 to clean up your house, and you're not home. You get home and you're upset. So if there's something happening in your community, you already know what the dirt is in your community. You do nothing, snitching, blah, blah. So you actually call cops. Cops show up. So-and-so had a gun. Oops, my mistake. He accidentally fell on my police officer's gun, and he got his head shot off. Oh my God, the tragedy, the crime, the poverty, the police brutality. But wait a minute, you didn't do anything. It's like we want to be hands off, let the world, and because of the mindset that you said earlier, the government fix all our problems. We sit back, supervise, critique, and all other stuff. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, it's the same in negative results, and we did nothing. So if we actually became the police officer, became the teacher, like pre-civil rights and all that other stuff, and the Black Wall Street that you mentioned earlier, things would go a little bit more smoothly. But the way it is right now, like Clarence Sharp will always say, the position that we're programmed is to always call someone to fix our problems. Our car breaks down, we call someone. There's a fire, we call someone. And that's the problem. We can't use our own skills to help ourselves. And if we do, especially as Black men, the system outside will try to destroy us and demonize us. If we try to educate our children, or if we try to protect our Black women, so we're in that little bubble.
I really think we need to be more involved in our communities, and I do that. So, like, I don't like the police. I don't. I don't.
Well, I do.
I don't. So I'm incentivized to handle stuff myself.
Okay.
Like, I'm incentivized to, like, if I see a problem, like, I don't know. So the other day I was telling a story about, there was an incident on the train, and like, I got involved in, like, helped break stuff up, and when the cops came on the scene, I'm gone. Like, I don't want to talk to cops. I'm gone. No.
But you look like a cop.
That's the point. They leave me alone. When I look like a cop, they don't bother me. Like, that's the game. I know how to get cops to leave me alone. They cops see me. They like I've actually had cops like, "Oh, you on the job?" I'm like, "Oh,
Me
no, I'm
too.
not."
Oh, yeah, I got this too. You want
But I want to look like that because they leave me alone. But um, it's like we have the like if we're taking more control, like what the Panthers did when the Panthers were patrolling the streets, like people actually respected them. The hoods was like, okay, we don't want no trouble. So like it's there are people and like there's a lot of old heads that are coming home and they don't like what's going on in their communities. So they're coming home from prison, these OGs, and they are respected. Like their name will ring bells in the streets. So when they come home and they say, "Hey, this ain't going down like this," that their word and their actions will carry weight, so that like boom, they can help keep the community safer. And I think it's relying on that is such a would be much more beneficial for our communities because then we don't have to worry about the cops coming because when the cops come in they're not just going to solve problems. Like they're going to come in and they're going to have their chips on their shoulder and they're going to be trying to do things their way. So it like Nicholas Reardon, if you don't know who Nicholas Reardon is, what's the name?
Google.
Huh?
I said Google.
uh, I'm trying to so he killed that young girl um, who was um, who was about to stab the other girl. He was just cleared of wrongdoing. They're not indicting him.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There were a lot of people were upset about that. Listen, they called the cops, and even though it was her younger sister that called the cops, like that, he wouldn't have been on the scene had somebody else handled that situation. The cops wouldn't have had to be on the scene. Her
Yep.
father was right there. I think that was her father. The dude that decides to kick the other chick while she's on the ground. That idiot. Like if this dude had handled the situation, the cops wouldn't have had to be on the scene, and his daughter would be still be alive. But like, let's not. The more we do for ourselves, the less we have to have the government involved where things can go wrong and think where things will go wrong, because that when the government's involved, things will go wrong. Yeah, and we feed you trash for different reasons. Um, so segregation. What I'm talking about is if we see um, if we see that if we're dealing with people that we have to beg to like us, to respect us, to accept us, maybe it's best if okay, you be over there, we'll stay over here.
That's right, man. We're
Like,
always
listen,
trying to force include ourselves. That's
right?
the
Yeah, I'm
whole
like,
integration movement. You can't force
if
somebody to be your friend.
exactly. If you would rather like I'm all cool with it. So like I talked about Marcus Garvey and in one of the videos, and somebody writes a comment, "Oh, well, Marcus Garvey was for separation." And I was like, "Well, yeah. Why do you act like so? You should know who you're talking about before you big him up as a hero." I'm like, "What makes you think I'm not aware of Marcus Garvey's stance? Like, I'm well aware of what he
That's
stood
right.
for."
Ever since I was a little boy, I always knew Magneto was right. So,
Exactly, exactly. A lot of NYPD officers live in Long Island and upstate, so when they come here, they're aggressive for no reason.
wait, can I say something
Absolutely.
that I want to address that
Okay,
because
go.
I was working with Sam Ravel. He's a retired Dominican police officer,
Right.
veteran. He ran for borough president. I was consultant, deputy campaign manager. He told me something very interesting about the NYPD because he's from the community. He said, Dion, a lot of people don't know that NYPD is the country's biggest law enforcement system, but it's a majority organization, meaning that most of the people that are police officers are minorities like us.
Okay.
And one thing I learned about it too is that the reason why most black men and Latino men from the hood that become cops get houses is because they're in that element where they're amongst all the people that all they talk about is houses all day, mortgages, complaints, blah, blah. And they have a support system of like-minded to get a house and up and out of the hood. So think about it. Let's say you, Aaron, go to a high school. You're born in the hood, but you go to high school in Whitesville amongst all these white kids, right? You're in the same ecosystem, the same mindsets. You're more than likely not going to become a gangster, or a thug because you're immersed in that culture. So if we want to have more black and Latino officers from the community, then that has to become a part of our culture. Because NYPD, like a lot of things, is a culture. A lot of jobs are a culture, a mindset, and brotherhood, and all the other garbage, right? But the thing about it is, with the NYPD, that's not about our culture. Like other kids, they want to grow up to become a cop. Here in our hood, we're demonizing cops. Why would I want to grow up to be that? And that's the problem. But then on top of that, wait, I hear when we get on the job, we have a lot of resentments and animosity. We feel some sort of way because we've come up in the same cohort with people that have ruined their lives with all the decision making. So when we become the cop, the CEO, the principal, the lawyer, it's like, wait a minute, that guy was in my high school. That girl was in my school. They messed up their lives. I saw that BS. They can do better. I know they can be. They will. I'm gonna be twice as hard on them. How about that? Because that's in our DNA. So that's a part of the problem. Go ahead, Aaron.
Oh, absolutely. And so, like, just take a look at what happened with this dude, Ryan Coogler. Like, all black people involved in that situation, which that situation should have never happened. Even as stupid, and not even stupid, even as malicious as that bank teller was, the cops should have been able to get there and say, "Wait a minute," like, like ask questions and figure out that, wait, this doesn't make any sense. But they put him in cuffs, put him in the back of the car, and then tried to justify it afterwards. Oh, well, it's because you passed her a note. He passed her a withdrawal slip. Like, that's, they give you withdrawal slips for that purpose. That's the purpose. But there's so many. The problem is being like, especially becoming joining the system at that level. You don't have the luxury or the control to not handle things a certain way. So cops, like people say, okay, not all cops are bad cops. I say cops can only be as good as the laws that they're enforcing. If the laws they're enforcing are absolute trash, which the laws that cops are enforcing are absolute trash, cops are trash. Because the laws that exist aren't actually being made for the benefit of the people. They're being made to benefit certain special interests. So that's why we now have Eric Adams talking about the marijuana businesses, the giving out marijuana licenses to people who have been previously arrested for marijuana offenses. Have number one, that's a great thing. That's one of the things I was promoting for. There's no way in hell you can justify having put people in a cage for selling this thing and then say, oh, now it's legal. Oh, by the way, you can't participate. What? Like, the people that suffered for laws that shouldn't have existed in the first place definitely need to have the first crack at it. But yeah, I want to put into place a system that um, where it's we're not dependent on the police. I do want to address this question real quick. So do you think the black community should not interact with any other with any other community? I think the black community should not be dependent upon any other community.
Can I
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
all right, I'll add to that too. If you want to add that, I'll put this caveat on it too. I think that the black community should interact and permeate every other community like the same script everybody else uses. We say that Asians have this, the Jews have this, any other. We'll do the same formula they do. They have their same little gated community, Chinatown, Williamsbridge. We have our same gated community, but then we should be able to permeate and go through the same matrix as everybody else, do commerce and so forth, just like ships on the ocean, right? And we still have peace and prosperity. But if we can't do that, then this all inclusion, everything's going to be all right, and let's all help each other out. It's not going to work because they'll still just use us, and we'll still have resentment towards them.
Exactly. And yeah, because what I envision is the black community having its own institutions, its own schools, its own supermarkets, own land, own banks. And that way we have the ability to, hey, if we want to start a business in this area, like you're saying, if we want to go to this other area, start a business, okay, we have the funds and the capital to go into this other area, start a business, and they're welcome to come and patronize our business. Hey, how you doing? Hey, friend, how you like? We
Friends.
could we could be just like everybody else is in our community. We can do the same thing and then take our money back to our community and come back the next day. Hey, the same way everybody else does, but that way we're dealing with other communities from a standpoint of equality, as opposed to being subservient or being dependent upon them. Like, oh, please we need you to hire us. Oh, you have a store in our community, but you don't hire any black
Right,
people. It's like, no.
that's the programming they had with job replaced ownership and business. We have to boycott. Boycott what? And unfortunately, you said the 2 points earlier, I believe, is when you turn black men against black women. One of the issues that I headbutt our women all the time on are the nail salons and the beauty parlors. How are you in Brooklyn fighting at an Asian nail salon because you're getting poor quality of service? Say racism and still create all this time, energy, and effort just to force your money into these people's hands to treat you like a queen. That made no sense to me. Whereas Larry Sharp would say that, why must we have permits for them to do hair braiding? Why can't I just go to cousin so-and-so's house again and play cousin so-and-so some short change, do my little daughter's hair? And that's the economics that we should be talking about.
Definitely. Like, but now it goes to the black leaders, and so like this comment,
Mama
black community should
Maxine.
stop.
Mama Maxine.
Yeah, the black community should stop voting for black leaders who do nothing, like Sheila Jackson Lee, Jim Clyburn. Like Clyburn is the reason Joe Biden is president. Thanks, Jim.
Let me Google this guy.
Oh yeah, so that was when in South Carolina, because if you remember the 2020 election,
oh my God, this guy.
Biden was like in fourth place. Biden was like in fourth place. Bernie was looking good. Pete Buttigieg was looking good. And then all of a sudden, South Carolina happened. Obama gets on the phone. Hey, Pete, I need you to drop out because Super Tuesday was coming up. I need you to drop out and endorse Biden. Called up Amy Klobuchar. Amy, don't worry, we got something for you nice down the line. Get out, back Joe. They all jumped back. They all dropped out and coalesced to make sure that Bernie Sanders didn't become the nominee. I'm not a Bernie Sanders fan. I don't like those policies. But
can I
they
say something, please. Just,
go ahead.
If you're black and you believe Bernie Sanders is a Democrat, you're a part of the problem. Continue.
But I saw how they robbed him. So like people want to talk about okay, I shouldn't even talk about that. I don't want to get this we're not even gonna talk about because YouTube gets sensitive about certain topics.
That's why my homegirl put me onto Clubhouse. She said, Dion, Clubhouse, you can say whatever you want, and they can't censor you.
Right. But yeah, that's when they threw in the kibosh right there. But like it's so you did mention, because you mentioned Roland Martin, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now
he had a good thing going there, right? And the thing about Roland Martin, I actually loved Roland Martin when he was on News One, that kind of stuff. I was gun ho with him because I'm the type of black person that came up in the hood. I love Sunday mornings because I had, Like It Is. We had America's Black Forum. That was like my day. I went to Catholic school. I'm not no shame of that. That's why I talk the Queen's English. You know what I mean? But yes, those programs are important because they do control the narrative and they do make you use critical thinking and common sense. Like that's where I first actually met Dr. Umar on his show and some other people that had different points of view. Of course, they're going to make people look at the whitest Uncle Toms on the program, but still they had a voice, and there still were Republicans there that had some substance. Michael Steele's another one, a Republican that had a lot of substance. It's like, okay, it could be cool to be a Republican, and you could be black as well. They'll still demonize you, but you still have a voice, and we still have a same goal. Fast forward, his show gets canceled, whatever reason. People theorized because he had white people on his board that pulled the plug when he went too far with the Black Progress stuff. But now, to me, as I hear him in the backdrop of his own show, he seems to really been pushing, because of Trump, the Democratic blue Kool-Aid too hard, in which his whole bias and objectivity, his critical thinking, all that stuff went out the window. I lost so much, I don't want to say respect. That's too strong a word, but like too much my attention and time to actually follow him with like Wayne. So I'm not sure what your opinion was about Roland Martin, but he was the black news medium example I would use to say, this could have been done more effectively if it had more support, a BT kind of following or infrastructure and other genres besides news where we control our own narrative, like we're trying to do economically.
I did a video last year about Roland Martin and King Roland King Randall. Uh, and I don't know if you saw that interview. So King Randall is out of Albany, Georgia.
Yeah, I know.
Started his own.
Let's say New York. We're trying to have him come to New York. I know about Green Randall.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So he did an interview, and Roland Martin just wanted to talk about voting rights, and King Randall was using this opportunity to talk about his school. It was a horrible interview from Roland's perspective, because like you said, he was just trying to push the Democratic agenda, and and he's like, well, that's why he was here. He was here to talk about voting rights, and I'm like, but why? Why? You had an opportunity to talk about a 21-year-old who started his own school. Like that matters more. That does more for black kids than the voting rights, this voting rights nonsense that you're just harping on, because that does something for the Democratic
But it goes
Party.
deeper. I'll tell you something about King Randall. That reason when I was a Park Blux, yeah, we're getting him coming to New York. Well, whatever. Same thing, I'm a black guy trying to save black boys. But what went deeper in it for me was, okay, now this guy gets it, is when we start talking about how grants are designed not to work in our betterment as a black people, and he was dependent on not fixing the problem. I want to do an institution that's not reliant on a grants mandate to actually correct young black boys to turn into black men to do this. And I was like, okay, now he gets it. Because if you can actually break down how certain mechanisms of the system, like a 501c3, is actually dangerous and to our detriment, then we're talking my language. And we call this beyond the vote. Like one of our members, you might have heard of, Raheem Soto, he had something called Think Before You Vote. These are things that's where it's like, you know what? You don't even need to vote anymore, Black America. We have too much power and access right now. Let somebody else fight for voting. We can do other things as long as we know how it works, besides just this vote, and then my world's supposed to be a better place after November,
But oh, absolutely. And I disagree with a lot of things Roland did. But the reason why Roland Martin is in the thumbnail today is because of the next topic, black advertising. So Roland Martin has been pushing that heavy. And like I said, I disagree with him a lot of stuff, but I like what he's talking about in terms of black advertisement and black advertising dollars.
What does he mean?
So he's talking about how there's all this money allotted for advertising, and these ad agencies. In fact, these ad agencies will pull up. They'll have all this money for advertising, but they won't use it on black owned media. So they
okay.
So okay, let me go back to comments. Get this comment up. So yeah, so like black owned, like he's in this tweet, he's talking about black owned media. Uh, we need more of the $322 billion that's being spent on advertising, but they're spending this advertising money, they're not spending it with black companies. So like we need black owned businesses that are getting a greater share of this. We need black advertisement agencies that are doing this. So and having a black advertising agency is a significant point of power. And
That's what comes down to power and control.
yeah, absolutely. Um, and so one of the other things, because like now this is talking about the private advertisement money, right? It just was revealed the other day. Okay, federal 100. No, this is okay. This is still that. Okay, this one. Okay, the federal government has spent 51. Okay, no, the government spent $5 billion over the past 5 years. The federal government spent $5 billion on advertising, but only spent 1% of that $5 billion with black-owned companies. The federal government. So now our taxpayer money is going to the government, and then they're funneling it to other communities.
Well, you see, that's when you have to. You mentioned it earlier, right? And somebody alluded to it again. The black leadership, elected officials,
Yes,
kind of deal. So it's like, well, on whose watch was this? Okay, was it
exactly.
on Obama's watch? Was it on Trump's watch? All right, fine. Let's stop there. Take a step further. Locally, back to New York. Whose watch was this under? Was it on the
Right,
King Cuomo's watch, or was it under Governor Pataki's watch? Take a
right.
step below. Okay, whose watch was it? Was it on Mayor de
De
Blasio's watch,
Blasio, right?
Bloomberg's watch, or
Bloomberg's, yeah,
Giuliani's watch? And then it
right.
gets a little bit smaller to that, to your local city council person. Hopefully, you know who that is. And when it comes to these monies, I go back to a person named Byron Allen. Because Byron Allen, actually, I'm not one of those people that hits the streets. You know me. Oh, no, but for Byron Allen, I actually went to DC.
Okay,
And, when he was going through his whole lawsuit with his channels he's trying to buy and that kind of thing, I was a part of the New York Urban League. Young professionals like, hey, wait a minute. Doesn't one of your Urban League guys sit on the board of the directors of what was the CM? What station was he trying to buy at that time?
the Weather Channel.
It was
No, he has the Weather.
Comcast. He's like,
Yes, yeah,
one of your guys still on Comcast. Hey, wait a minute,
right,
Al Sharpton. Didn't you sign an agreement to side with them
right,
and
right.
then expose our black leaders again? Shh, oh my
Yeah,
God, Shaggy, look at that. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I'm with it. And so that's another concept too, where they're in a position of power, so much so where they can actually say no to our money. And that's what's very dangerous. But my grandmother raised me, said, Dion, never ever beg anybody to take your money. Never. Never go to the store, never say, oh, yeah, don't make demands. No, just walk out. I don't care if you're going to walk to the moon to buy something. Just
right.
never ever beg anybody to spend your money. And that's the power of control. So when Roland Martin is right on that aspect, but then with Roland Martin, if that's his thing, he's going to crusade, then when it's election time, why doesn't he link that to the vote and say, hey,
Right.
here's the legislative agenda. Here's all the people that voted for this bill, blah, blah, blah. Here's who sits on the General Services board from the congressional standpoint that disperses the funds of the earmark, the pork barrel spending, blah, 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 blah. That's the knowledge and skill set we need to help Roland Martin push that agenda of the money.
And yeah, Kenny, we did talk about Byron Allen the other day. But it's exactly what you said. The reason why Roland Martin is talking about this is because it affects his bottom line. So we have to listen.
How convenient.
Yeah, we have to be mindful of that. So I like that he's talking about it, but I'm not taking my eye off the ball and realizing that Roland Martin is trying to serve Roland Martin. So like I will give him enough leeway. Okay, you push that, but then we're gonna cut you off before you try to act like, oh yeah, the problem is solved. No, you got yours, and now we're gonna make sure everybody eats. Because basically what he'll do is he'll push for the issue just so that they cut him in, and then he's silent. I'm like,
That's the problem I have with Roland Martin and people at Roland Martin. They're all power people, but then there's a certain caste system amongst our people.
yeah,
And he's a part of that caste system. And the problem with our people, as always, I don't like to be an echo chamber because I use that word thanks to you. I call it a black complaint box, in which we know our grievances. It's just that we don't act upon them effectively. We all know there's a black elitist class up here, right? You got your Boule, your Jack and Jill, your Divine Nine, your Prince Hall, Freemasons, and then come on down to the other different kind of equitable class systems, and then the hood kind of deal. The whole Tower of Babel, Luciferianism, we're going to go into conspiracy theorist system of our culture, and where a certain amount of us get access and some of us don't, and it's at the expense of the majority of us. And then there's a certain concept called the black silent majority that I preach upon all the time here in the South Bronx, the most bluest county in America, yet the poorest county of America. And people don't see that correlation where our poverty is a nice big business mechanism.
yeah,
And I keep coming back to the same thing. Donald Trump links. And this is why you got to listen to people on the ground. And a lot of people don't know, who probably watch this program, that Donald Trump has one of the biggest golf courses in New York State in the South Bronx. Nice waterfront. And when you go over the Whitestone Bridge, you see Trump links, and everybody hates it, racist. But did you know they actually want to make Trump links the biggest supportive shelter system in New York State with a nice resort system? But they failed because they're making too much money off shelters, and it got exposed for being corrupt, and they're making more shelters. So what are you more mad at? Donald Trump being racist or the shelter system? Who has more control and power over your life? Doesn't the shelter system hurt you more than Trump's golf course? Me being in the game, I know people that worked at Donald Trump golf course. You know what they told me? Say, you know what? Donald Trump may seem racist, but in actuality, Donald Trump, his sons, his family, everybody comes on a golf course, they overtip. They're over nice. I can't believe it. I said, you know what? You need to go on your freaking Instagram right now and say that right here. So the world can know the truth of what goes on down at Donald Trump's golf course. How you got a job, how you bring home 4 figures a night in tips, and everything's all good because the world is demonized in this place. They're trying to turn into a shelter some way, somehow, and then pull up another jail next to it because they're closing Rikers because it's a great thing to do. And those are the things.
Listen, and what they're going to be, I would like to see, because I've known since what 2016, 2017, I've known that some private architect firm has plans already drawn. They have the models and everything of what they're going to build on Rikers Island, and they're waiting.
I'm a bad consultant, Aaron. I'm gonna tell you what they're gonna do. Google rethink New York 2050. It's right there. It's right there, brother. I'm a bad consultant because I want to get those contracts too. What they're trying to do is, and they're gonna do it. I already know somebody sits on the commission over there. They're gonna turn it into the LaGuardia Airport Expanse. They're going to have these high-rise monorail trains to link the Bronx's Metro North to the Long Island Railroad, and they're going to put that vein through a Grand Central Station, linking it to Penn Station, through Jersey, down the Trenton, up until Pennsylvania, and have a whole nice artery system of nice trains coming in and out through the hood, through suburbia, through all these different access points, through 4 states, maybe 5, but I think it's 4 states: Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, and Connecticut. Yeah, there's no 5th state involved there too.
Like, follow the money. Like it's listen, even like
OpenSecrets.org. OpenSecrets.org.
Like it was clear that this wasn't about criminal justice reform. It was obvious as.
Guess what, Aaron? Guess all the boroughs in New York City gets to jail except for who?
Staten Island. I'm like, wait a minute. What, they not going to lock nobody up?
They got no problem with Staten Island. A little hair on.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, if they don't want to jail, then they can't lock anybody up. That's what I would have said. So, but yeah, everybody else has to get a jail in their borough.
Yeah,
that's crazy. But I'm looking at this. Okay, so question: NFL. Brian Flores, have you followed any of that with the lawsuit?
No, man, I don't pay attention to plantations and people that make $1 million on plantations. I don't any sports. Listen, they say plantation, I'm watching no more.
But it pisses me off because he's suing them. Oh, it's racist. They don't want to hire a black coach. And I saw somebody had written an article, and they're like, the problem with the NFL is they need more black coaches. I'm like, no. The problem is, you know what? We have enough black athletes. We have enough black athletes and enough black sports wealth that we can start and so The Rock buying the XFL is just a start. But like that's what we need. Yeah. I'm so glad. Yes.
Sleep in peace, Sleep in peace.
I'm so glad because like Vince McMahon, I was like, because Vince McMahon was doing it with the whole we're gonna salute the flag. We're gonna I'm like, sit your dumb self down, but like black owned sports league, if black people are gonna be the main draw for these leagues, why aren't we owning these leagues? And then it also comes down to the government subsidizing these leagues by buying the stadiums, and then like, wait a minute, how's the people paying for the stadium, but this rich white guy gets all of the profits from the stadium? So he's socializing the losses, but privatizing the gains. It's crazy. I don't see why Donald Trump didn't push back on the racism agenda that was against him in the election. Biden clearly has a history of all-out racism against black people starting in the 70s. Listen, here's the thing.
Donald Trump, it was an easy target because he kept the racism for himself fresh. All the other people, voters forget like that, and people don't understand that Donald Trump's racism is just stayed fresh. People could only call Biden racist if they connected the dots. literally connected the dots and do research and experienced it and went through the whole strategy. Other than that, it would just be sound bites and videos. But they needed a champion to take down the dragon of Donald Trump, and that had to be somebody. Anything better than Trump, Joe Biden, and he had a black woman on his side. So there could have been no narrative to beat that. None. Even they'll do anything. I even know somebody, and this is another side story from the campaign trail. Somebody ran for Congress. I know Julio Pabon, Puerto Rico, Jones Act, school and everything. Somebody there, she hated Donald Trump, but she said, Dion, you know what? I was in Puerto Rico when Donald Trump was throwing the paper towels. And you know what? The media was wrong. They told, all the Puerto Rican leaders told Donald Trump to do that. Okay. And that's when you have to have people on the ground to let you know what's really going on.
Listen, I know without a doubt that they frame things in a way to make him look bad. But here's the thing. So, like, there's a lot of people would say, oh, nobody called Donald Trump racist until, he ran for president. And I'm like, that's not entirely accurate. Because there were people that called him out for stuff in the past, right? But there were the people that were the loudest about it. They were cool with his racism until he ran for president. So Donald Trump didn't become a racist on June, June 20th, 2015. Donald Trump had been a racist. Hillary Clinton had no problem going to his wedding, taking his money, no problem. Hillary, you got that picture with Hillary and Bill, with Donald and Melania at his wedding. They had no problem with his racism until he snatched her election from her. That's when she had a problem with it. Like, it's like, so like Hillary, and we know what time Bill was on. We know what time you were on. We know what the nonsense you'll do with Haiti. We know what y'all did with the advocation of the crime bill and stuff here in the United States. So there were so many people that had no problem with Trump's nonsense until he was no longer on their team, because they created Trump. Like, they literally. So they created him in the media to this super successful businessman, and then they created him as the candidate to watch because they gave him nonstop coverage, and they did it on purpose. They did it on purpose because Hillary said, "Oh, I can't lose."
Well, that's another thing. That's why, as a campaign consultant, I was taught that negative campaigning doesn't work, and Donald Trump proved it in the sense that nobody on both sides took him seriously. They both said, "It's not going to run." They just, all right, this is and just like George W., it actually made ratings. So, all right, so everybody in the background, yeah, this is going to make good ratings. This is going to be a cakewalk, man. And then, sure enough, even Donald Trump was like, "Oh shit, I won." Oh, sorry, first again.
Listen, that look on his face when listen. He was scared to death. That look, I remember that look. That was terror. He's like, oh no. He's like, I gotta run the country. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, that look on his face was sheer terror when he found out he won.
Did you see fat Chris Christie standing next to him as he's talking? He's like this. He's like, that's hilarious. But still, I was so happy. You don't understand that, just like 9/11, where were you when Trump won? I can say where I was when Trump won. I was on a job.
You go first.
I was doing security at night. I was a security inspector. And this guy, he was like an RA in the shelter, and he lost his face. Like, I don't believe this. He couldn't believe it. He was like, oh my God. And I called my man. Listen, man, the party's over, man. Obama phone's gone. Time to get a job. No more funny games. I was like, I didn't vote for Trump. I don't even think I voted for Hillary. I forgot who I voted for. But it's like, it was like such a relief.
Was it Gary Johnson?
Maybe, I don't know. I know I voted for Dr. Joe Jorgensen because that's when I started rolling hard with you guys.
Okay. Listen, that night, I don't know if you remember Alex Merced. So he was the vice chair of the Libertarian National Party. Okay. He used to live in New York. He moved. I was at his Senate election party because he was running against Chuck Schumer. So we had a little party for him, and we're in the restaurant, we're chilling, and just random, like this Hillary voter, because I'm watching that we're watching as the results are coming back, and I'm laughing. I'm like, this dude's about to win. I was like, this dude's about to win. Like, and everybody else in the bar and the club, the restaurant, were Hillary voters, and they were sick. They would
It was sick,
like
yeah.
they were sick. So some girl comes up to me. She's like, I can't believe this is happening. How did this happen? And I said, you should have you should have picked Birdie.
Yeah, man. It was like, and it's like I was laughing because you look at the Jacob Javits Center, you see tears coming out.
Yes.
Hillary didn't even bother showing her
Yes.
people. They were all
Yeah.
just like,
She just bailed.
I was like, wow, that's good for all. And I know people that were there too, because I know I'm in that realm. I was like, yep, you get what you vote for. This lady's a snake. We all knew it. You knew it. You thought you get a nice cakewalk, another paycheck. Meaning sense of disgusting. Oh, Joe Stein. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I voted for Gary Johnson, and I don't mind having voted for Gary Johnson, but his running mate was Bill Weld. And I hadn't done so. I'd known what Bill Weld had done in New York City to the libertarians, and I was willing to look past that. What I didn't know was Bill Weld's um, his criminal justice past. So, like, he had worked for the Reagan administration, and when Joe Biden is on his crusade, his drug war crusade, Bill Weld is right there, like their buddy, like trying to destroy people's lives. And once I found that out, I was sick. I was like, had I known this, I would not have voted for Gary Johnson because that was his running mate. And not just because it was his running mate, because the way Gary Johnson was running with Bill Weld, he had it so that like they had asked him questions, and he says, "Oh yeah, we're gonna be like co-presidents." Like this is something Gary Johnson literally said about like him and Bill Weld like running the country together. Like that's a problem. Like so like I voted for Gary Johnson, but the fact that he had Bill Weld as a running mate, like if Bill Weld's not coming back to the Libertarian Party, because even though he said I'm a Libertarian for life, in 2020 he went back to the Republican Party and got shellacked. Like he didn't even get I don't think he got one delegate. He might have gotten maybe one delegate in the entire 2020 race. Um, so now there's another thing. You follow Versus at all?
Oh, the battle? Nah, that's not hip hop, man. I'm like the
Okay.
most anti-black person right now.
Listen, the reason why I want to talk about Versus is for this reason. Like a couple of weeks ago, they had so like Joe Budden, not Joe Budden, Swiss Beats. Swiss Beats was the owner. So like he did sell it. I'm not sure exactly what the stakes, what the terms of the deal are. But in terms of it being a black owned company, to the extent that it was, they had for 2020 and 2021, you could go and watch the shows for free. So the last verses they had, which was like the middle of February, Valentine's Day. Yeah, it was a Valentine's Day show. They had what Music Show Child and Anthony Hamilton. So Music Show Child and Anthony Hamilton versus, and then they said, oh, it's gonna now it's a subscription charge, but so it's gonna be like $5 or something like that a month for the subscription, but you can get a 7-day free trial. The black people on the black Twitter just, oh, this is outrageous. I'm not paying for this. Like, oh, it's free up until now. Now you expect us to pay for it? We're not paying for this. And I'm like, okay, while we're talking about black business, the element of creating black business is part of it. The second part is us as consumers. We have to be spending the money with black business. Like, the black businesses go nowhere if we're not willing, if we're not actually willing to spend the money with black businesses. So like it's crazy because people are spending $15, $20 for Netflix, for any other thing. Then you have this partially black owned company that's going to start charging But you can even get the 7-day free trial, and people just absolutely revolt. Like, oh, we're not paying for this. This is outrageous. It's like, wait a minute. Like, you've got these two superstars doing this show. Like, you'll pay for a concert, right? Like, what's the like? If you're not willing to patronize black businesses, we're in some trouble. Like,
That's what the free mentality that the blue team promotes. Everything should be free, provided for, and taken care of. It's just that we don't know on the other side that it's an investment in ourselves, like education. Education should be free. No, you're saying education should be provided for. It should be paid for. That we have some value in it. Our values are in the wrong places, and that's why
I mean,
Martin Luther King said something very dangerous. I think you've heard me say it many times. He said in one speech, because I never thought I'd quote him, he said, listen, you cannot legislate morality.
yeah, exactly. Right, right. See, my thing is,
I'll be right back.
Okay. So my thing is, I see black people willing to spend money with non-black people. Like, no question. If there's no difficulty, there's no problem. And it's not even a matter of them looking for value. It's a matter of them saying, oh, it's not black owned. Okay, I'll spend my money with. Like, people will spend hundreds of dollars on some Jordans, even though it costs them less than $10 to make. So it's worth less than $10, but people have no problem spending $150 for it. And so now it's like this. So now, when it comes to verses, there are some shows that will be more valuable than others. So that's why I think like a subscription course isn't a great model for the verses. Because if you've got somebody like I talked about the KRS Big Daddy Kane verses, that was a phenomenal verses. Any verses that had the locks in it, Jada kissing them, they killed it. Ja Rule, Ja Rule versus Fat Joe, those what like some of the premier verses, like just absolutely phenomenal shows. You got to see your like these cats playing great songs, the hits you like, and seeing them like Ja Rule. People forget about this. A lot of something people don't realize about Ja Rule. The man knows how to put on a performance. The man, like you could have rolled with 50 Cent in the 50 Ja Rule beef all you want, but Ja Rule knows how to put on a performance. But then when you look at the KRS and Big Daddy Kane versus, that was just that like you just are transported to back in the day. And like I said, I had forgotten how good Big Daddy Kane was. And as a live performer, dude is amazing. Dude is amazing. And I'm a KRS because I'm a conscious head. I listen, conscious rap is my thing.
Yes.
But Big Daddy Kane, listen, there's one way KRS could have won that versus. If KRS had done self-destruction, he wins that versus. He didn't do self-destruction, and so I give that versus to Big Daddy Kane because Big Daddy Kane did it. He handled that versus.
Well, my question is that you brought up a good point because I remember as a kid when self-destruction hit. Yes. And my question to you and for your viewers is, how can we take our culture back, not to be so compromised by the vultures of the culture, to that kind of consciousness and actually play music that is more, keep us more focused and more, harmonious. You know what I mean? For example, that kind of stuff would shed knowledge and would provoke thought. All right. And could provoke conversation and could provoke something more positive, productive than what's going on now, which is actually making the money with the controversy and the sex and blah, 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 blah. So that's the point I would bring to our art form.
I don't know if you heard about the Fire Festival. It was a mess. But yeah, so yeah, what we have to do is in terms of, but like that's why the technology that exists today is so powerful because right now I have a show. I have a show on YouTube right now. Like I didn't need to get permission. I didn't need to get the approval of the powers that be because they wouldn't have given it to me. They've been like, you, we're not giving you a show.
You're a black man talking like that. Wearing a suit and tie. I don't know.
like they're like no, we know, like no, we're not giving you nothing. We're not giving you no shine. So now we have the technology that we can, and that's why we need to take advantage of it while it's accessible. Because right now, both the Democrats and Republicans are coming for Section 230. And the reason why they're coming for Section 230 is because that allows regular people to directly reach the public. So you can like that like that's what
30. Let's see. What's that?
yeah. So like you have so much talent out there that can directly reach the people. You've got RDC World. Like I don't know if you know those brothers, Young Brothers. They do these comedy skits and everything. They are supremely talented. They didn't need to get approval. They didn't have to put on a dress and get hired by
Just
Comedy
let it go.
Central. Listen, they didn't have to do that to get shine. You know, you got like the dude dude out of off the West Coast, Big Ja. Like these dudes, they're so creative. There's so much creativity. There's so much talent there. And then you've got people in the music world who they can just make their tracks, make their music, and then directly promote it on social media. And it completely bypasses that whole machine that was picking and choosing, like, okay, yeah, your music isn't negative enough. You're not killing enough black people in your music, so we're not going to promote you. We'll give you a deal, but just to keep you sitting down, and then we'll promote this guy who's absolute garbage, but he's like, yeah, I'm gonna kill you. He's singing nursery rhymes, and talking about how he's gonna kill every black man on his block.
Heaven
Like
forbid, heaven forbid he says kill the Jews or the gay man.
listen, like that, that's not even a question. If he says anything like that, not only is he like they're shutting him down, they're indicting him. They're indicting him. But the music that is so negative against black people, like it's not even that's not even a bug. That's the feature. Like that's the feature. We want you to talk about this so that we can promote you. But now you do have these young cats doing the drill rap. And I think there's a potential for us to, like, I don't like what Eric Adams is talking about on trying to shut down drill rap. I
Well,
think
yes, that goes back to my point of you can't legislate morality,
right.
Because for example, I started to catch up, but I'm passionate about this.
Yeah.
I actually downloaded his PDF, his criminal justice reform plan, and I filed the money. I said, well, you're going to let NYPD do this, but who has control of procurement? Where that contract come from? Are you going to let them contract a consultant from Nebraska, give them cultural sensitivity training when they should be contracting other people in their community? Like all that's right there. But yes, go ahead.
Cornell Brown, welcome. Yeah, it's like the drill rap. I think the old heads need to be involved. So like these is young cats that don't. They've got a lot of energy, but I think they will. If you've got the cats that are from the street, they have the ability to connect to this younger generation, and they see, because if you're dealing with somebody who's a square, they can't reach these young cats because they're like, nah, you don't know our language, you don't speak our language. But if you have somebody who's been in that life, these are the individuals that can reach these youngins and say, listen, let's say you want to do your drill rap, keep it on wax. Like make that music and then don't actually go out and shoot people. Realize that you can make money, get your money, and then you can start like you don't have to be like you can do something else with it. But like it's so there's the two sides of it. But like the creativity, the potential to promote creativity and not be dependent on somebody else to have to promote our music, because we can even improve the situation if we have black media so that we can
you brought it full circle. You just
oh yes 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 yeah. So with black owned media now, what do? I can see this talented cat that's talking about building up his community.
Well,
He's spitting a conscious message,
well,
and he's doing it because here's the thing. The question is, like, a lot of the critique people would say is, oh, conscious rappers didn't have good beats. That's a lie, because I've seen them take conscious rapper beats and then do other stuff to it. So, but you do need to, and this is something I'm learning to do better now, in terms of being more entertaining and less preachy. Like there's a cat that he talks about this, and he's like, listen, if you have your YouTube channel, you want to talk about something, you want to spread a message, but like if you're just preaching at people, nobody wants to hear. Like, people are on YouTube to be entertained. So that's what we need to be able to do. We need to be able to sell a positive message and keep people happy, and keep people entertained, and keep people, like, have fun. Like, because I know I had a habit of being too, like, stoic, or being too focused on the message, and not being able to just, hey, I can drop a gem here and there, and we can still have a great time. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a way to do that, but it's hard. It's not the easiest way.
Well, I'll throw this monkey wrench into it. We have to stop letting these platforms validate us. And that's the problem with the inclusion and the civil rights. For example, these things exist, Aaron. We know these things exist. It's just like, coming out of pocket and putting money into it. It's hard for us to feel as though we're validated. I was so disgusted with Spike Lee and Samuel L. Jackson talking all that Black pride and power stuff. Then the next day, run to the Emmys, run to the
Right.
Academy Awards, because
Right.
that's what validates them. Instead of taking the NAACP Image Award, even though NAACP, I'm a member, whatever, is something, but it's still something that's ours. And say, you know what? I will never go to any other award ceremony except for this, because this is what I validate, and it validates me for my people. That is very important. So if we pick one, if we all program one brain to support one platform that's Black owned, blackplanet.com or whatever it is, remember that?
Oh, yeah,
Then
yeah.
let's all stick to that. But if we can't do it, then our attention is going to be pulled all over the place, especially who has the biggest dollar. And that's the other thing. We can't let the money, the source of the money, validate. We shouldn't be scared to put money to one place, right? And actually stick to it. It could be $1 and sells $1,000 from over there, and then we should actually pay good quality artists good quality money. The reason why, I'll give you a case in point. Another community leader said, Dion, I'm an Indian business owner. I ask these kids, why don't they make positive music like Bill Cosby? They said, because it doesn't make money. Why can't we make positive music make money in some way, in some fashion?
Right.
A nice jingle, you know what I mean?
Listen,
Slogan, something.
there's a way to do it, but it takes creativity, and that's why. So, question: have you heard of the lead attorney? Because that's where that's where
Google.
this is. Okay, so the lead attorney is a YouTuber, right? Let me tell you about the lead attorney. The lead attorney last year, January, he had 1,000 subscribers. In January last year, he had 1,000 subscribers. By the end of the year, lead attorney had over 100,000 subscribers.
I see him right now.
Yes, like, this dude is the truth. And so one of the things, because like that's why he's in the thumbnail. He's in the thumbnail because he talks about, like, Black business is one of the things he's talking about, and he talks about using YouTube as a business. So he actually started a course. He actually started a YouTube course that to teach people how to live stream, right? And so he came out with the live. So before he came out with the course, throughout the course of the year, his subscriber base is building. As his subscriber base is increasing, he'll get to a point, like, he gets to 10,000 subscribers, and then he does a breakdown. He does a video, does a breakdown. Okay, hold on. Let me say. So TLA is awesome, long-winded as hell, but I like it.
Okay, I can see.
Let me tell you something about TLA. TLA, like, I saw him do 8-hour live streams. 8-hour live streams. I'm like, he's still going. So, like, before he like, he'll do a live stream, and he'll bring on guests on, and they'll be, talking. But before he brings on the guest, he'll go for like an hour and a half, 2 hours doing his monologue. So I remember one time I'm watching I'm watching TLA. I'm watching him. Like it's like 4:30. I start watching him. You know, goes through his monologue. Then he gets to the point where he starts bringing people up. I look at the clock. It's after 6 o'clock. I'm like, what? Like I didn't even realize that much time passed. So it wasn't like he's long-winded and bored. Like he's long-winded and kept me engrossed that entire
Oh,
time.
really?
Yes, I didn't even
Wow.
realize the
I
time
got see what's
passed.
going on here.
Like listen. So listen. Full disclosure, and let me tell everybody who's watching. Full disclosure, because he has a course that he sold, right? That he's selling. I bought his course.
Plug, plug.
Listen, I bought his course
The Kool-Aid works,
because
everybody.
I bought his course because I'm like, as good as he is, like as good as he is, I witnessed it firsthand. Like I'm watching it and he's just engrossing. I said, this is a dude I want to learn from. So now what happens is he before he starts selling his course, he would actually tell people how much he was making with each subscriber count. So 10,000 subscribers, he told people how much he is making, 25,000, 50,000. Then once he got to 100,000, he told people how much money he was making. And it's like, wow, the dude is making a killing on YouTube. So then he started his course, and his course is $550, right? So when he says it's $550, some people are like, oh, $550. And I'm like, okay, I get people saying $550 is a lot of money, right? I get it. However, the question is, what is your return on investment? So he goes on this show, and in fact, he actually goes on the show with this young lady named Nick at Night, and um, they're having a discussion. They're talking about Tasha K and Cardi B and everything,
Oh God.
and then he brings up his course, and she's like the other person whose channel he's on because she invited him on, and she's like, and he starts, he gives his course a plug, and she's like, yeah, that's a lot of money. He's like, no, but listen, it's worth it. I break it down, I teach people, and so she's like, um, she basically like yeah, but I don't know that's I don't think people are gonna make as much money as you make, and so they get into it, but they don't get into it. They have playful banter back and forth. A couple of days later, he puts out a post, basically kind of like teasing her, like, "Hey, she thinks that my course isn't worth it. So if you wanna if you wanna donate to help her buy the course, you could just donate and put fun Neek, So she got offended, and I get she felt that, like he was making fun of her, but I also get his position because he's like, listen, I'm promoting this course, and it's almost as if you're saying it's a scam. Like, and so it's almost as if you're saying it's not worth it. Let's put it that way. So, because she didn't say it was a scam, but I can see his position of feeling that she was downplaying the value of his course, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the I watched like her talk about it because she was kind of upset about it, and so she did a video talking about it, and she's talking about how she doesn't think that his results are going to be for everybody, right? And she doesn't think that if he's teaching a course on how to live stream, that it's actually going to. She's like, what's there to do? You just you get on StreamYard, you it's easy. StreamYard is easy, but
Right.
there's more to his course. Like, and if she could have actually went to the site and seen all of the, even without being able to access it, you can see a list of all of the things that he's going to teach in his course. But she just didn't think it was worth it. And so that goes back to where black people aren't valuing black business,
Right.
because I saw people on her in a comment section saying stuff like one woman gets on the comment section, it's like $550, that's a lot of money. If I'm not getting certification, like I'm not spending that amount of money.
If I'm
And
not
I'm
getting
like,
happy ending, I'm not paying that money.
I'm like, a certification from whom? From whom? So a piece of paper is more valuable to you than the knowledge. Because she didn't say that she was that if she doesn't get the knowledge. She's like, if I don't get a certification, okay. Shout out to Olga.
Oh
He's
God.
Let me tell you what happens with that. Olga Olga is Tasha K's lawyer. Olga is Tasha K's lawyer, and lead attorney is hilarious because every time he starts talking about Tasha K, he goes in on her lawyer because her
Oh,
lawyer, because he's an attorney,
yeah, yeah.
and so she wasn't even her specialty wasn't defamation cases, but she took the case anyway. Like it's on her
I
site.
hate when they do that dumb
Like
stuff.
yeah, but she saw the money and she took the case. So she's like on her site, she says that she's a like I forgot what type of law she does, but it's not defamation. And so he's like, she should have never taken the case. So he like every time he starts talking about, he's like, shout out to Olga, and he gets on it. Like, dude is funny. But like the interesting thing was like this woman is talking about the course, and she's like, if it was a certification, then I'd pay $550 for it. And I'm like, so a piece of paper matters more to you than actual knowledge, because like with this, he's not telling you, okay, this is what you have to do in order to get a job. He's telling you this course is going to teach you how to live stream to make money on YouTube. That's all you need is you get in on camera and you can start your own business right there. The funny thing I look at it is nobody was asking what's the ROI, because if you've got people who will pay tens of thousands of dollars for college degrees, and they never say, but wait a minute, what's the ROI? They never ask that question. They'll pay tens of thousands of dollars, get in massive debt, and they never ask, okay, I know. And then they say, wait, well, what are the jobs I'm gonna get? What's the, when I graduate, what's gonna be my salaries and blah blah blah? What guarantees are you giving me? But with his course, because they're like, oh, so he makes $40,000 a month on YouTube. Okay, you're not gonna make that much. Okay, cool. What if I make $1,000 a month on YouTube? What if I take his course and make $1,000 a month on YouTube? Guess what? Within 2 weeks, I just paid for the course. If I don't make if his course teaches me to only make $1,000 a month on YouTube, I paid for the course in 2 weeks. It paid for itself.
No, actually, it pays you to be there.
Yeah. But I mean, it was really interesting that the way the whole drama worked out, because um because he had demonstrated from his actions that if you want a stamp of approval, because you want to make sure the person that you're getting taught by knows what they're talking about.
From one, yes, definitely.
If you watched him over the past year, you're like, okay, yeah, this is somebody I can listen to. Yeah, if the person has 2 subscribers and they're saying, listen, this is how to make $1 million on YouTube, I'll pass. If he went from 1,000 to 100,000 plus over the course of the year, you got to realize, you know what? This dude might know what he's talking about.
There might be something
This
there.
might be, yeah, this might be worth it, you know? And he had discount codes for it. So, but it's one of the things that I see in terms of black business. I like what he's doing in terms of helping other people, because he's given the game. And what he does is he'll bring people onto his platform, smaller creators, have them come onto his platform and give them wider exposure. I'm like, this is what we need to be doing to build
That's
that,
the
because
collective, cooperative economics,
yes,
and that's the
yes,
example. Very good.
absolutely. Because because a lot of people will talk about it's hard to build black businesses because we need capital. YouTube is something where we need which is less capital intensive, where you can start a YouTube channel with your phone. You've got your camera phone, you've got your phone and your camera. That's it. That's all you really need to start the YouTube channel. And you can do that, and then you can start using this to generate income. and it doesn't need to be your only source of income. You can use it to be a secondary source of income until you until you become successful. But this is so, like, if we want to support Black businesses, and let's say people don't want to spend money, they don't want to buy his course. I'm loving this course. I'm loving it. I still have to get better at it. I still have to implement everything better, but I'm loving this course. But you don't need to buy his course to support him yet. You can jump on his subscribe to his channel. You can become a paying member, or you can just be a free subscriber. You can join his Patreon. Like, there's all of these ways to support Black businesses right now that don't require a lot of money or even any money. But like, because there's so many Black creators on the YouTube space, so you can, like, let's say you say, oh, but what if they're no good? Okay, then you don't subscribe to them. If you find a Black creator on YouTube that you don't like, you don't subscribe to them. You don't watch their stuff. But there are plenty of Black subscribers, plenty of Black YouTubers all over all over YouTube, that you'll be able to find people that are funny, and like, you'll be able to find the RDC world. You'll be able to find a Kelly Stamps. You'll be able to find not these guys. These guys are trash. Fresh and Fit. I don't know if you've heard about Fresh and Fit.
No.
Oh, that's another story.
It's not
Another
worth
thing.
repeating. It's
That's
not worth
another,
repeating.
that's
Don't do
another
it.
thing. But that's another story. Oh yeah, you see, he says because there's so many scammers out there pitching courses like Fresh and Fit that many have a side eye. So yeah, so like Fresh and Fit, they preach male improvement and how to get women. But the one of the guys, he got caught. He got exposed by a woman who he had asked to do a collaboration with. He's like, "Hey, do you want to do a collaboration with me?" She's like, "Okay." She looked him up. It's like, "Oh, you got a big channel? Yeah. I'll I'm gonna be in Florida, in a week or two, and then we can collaborate." He's like, "Okay, yeah." He says, "Oh yeah, by the way, basically, you got to sleep with me if you want to be on my show." She's like,
We're still
"What?"
doing that now. We're still doing that. That's still a thing.
She's like, "What?" And so, like, it's like, wait a minute, if this is how you get women, like, you're probably not in a great position to be teaching dudes how to get women. Uh, um, remember Tasha? Oh yeah, Tasha K had a
Oh,
beef
wow.
with
Yeah,
TLA.
here we go. And he used that J word.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that was me in college. 2 years, never check my grades, just care if I knew the information or not. Right. Like, and that's why, if we're looking at things differently, we can progress so much faster. Um, so if people want to see something worth the money they put into it, I can see both sides. So yeah, so you talking about Nick at Night and TLA. Yeah, listen, I get where she was coming from, but I also understand, like, so her, especially they're live streaming and she's basically saying, like, yeah, I don't think this is gonna work. It's like, I'm plugging my service here, and you're like, yeah, it's no good. Like, and you're not even saying that based on something you're just assuming it's not good, despite the fact that he's got a hell of a track record for people to say, wait a minute, if you're gonna buy any course, this might be the guy's course that you want to buy. If you're gonna buy a course, you could do way worse than the lead attorney. So yeah, he does that. He has people come on, shout their channels, who they are. Yeah, so like, and he'll literally bring people, smaller creators on. And so this kind of support is what I'm loving seeing it, because he's built his business and he's helping other people build theirs. At the same time,
Yeah.
at the same time, he's making money, which cool, definitely. Especially if he's providing value, to people, make his money. But he's also making sure, hey, come on to my channel, tell people what your channel's about. And he gives plenty of the game. There's plenty of game he gives away for free. So you've got the paid courses, but there's plenty of stuff that he has no problem telling people for free. And it's like, this is the blueprint for us to take advantage of while we can. Like, this is the blueprint. Like, the YouTube is free to start. It's free to start. Like you don't have to buy any. You don't have to buy a storefront. You don't have to have merchandise. Like this is something. It's free to start. So like this can be the social media landscape, the digital landscape provides an opportunity for us to just start to get the ball rolling. And the same principles applies to Black YouTube. We need to build each other up in network. Yeah. So like find creators. That's why like I'll talk about creators that I really like. And if if you like they're bigger than me. They're way bigger than me. But if the people that are watching me haven't heard of them, they might go check them out and say, oh yeah, I like this person too.
I
In
subscribe
fact,
to this TLA's person now, so see it work.
yeah.
People have told me I should do my own YouTube, and hopefully
Listen, you need to.
Aaron will just
You really need to, man. Seriously. I don't know what you're waiting on,
I'm my own
You
worst enemy.
slacking.
I'm slacking. It's called Procrastination, damn it. It has a name.
Listen, I know exactly what you're talking about. You're like, oh, I need to get lighting. I need to get a background. I need to get a stronger camera. I need to get this software. I need to get that. Listen, I've been there, done that. I've been there, done that. Like it took me, like I've had this channel for so long before I actually started regularly posting. And I was just like, and then even when I started getting, more subscribers, I got to a point where it's like, oh, I'm going too fast. let me slow down. you know? But it's a learning curve, and it's an opportunity that I think it's too good to pass up. It's
Right.
too good to pass up. Of sharing your knowledge with the world, of tapping into your creativity. Like that's part of the most exciting parts of this. Because now that I've started posting regularly and doing regular videos and everything, I'm tapping more into my creative side, and it's fun. Because
Oh,
it's a
okay.
side, it's a side that I had gotten away from for so long.
Me
Because I was
too.
like being in the politics, I was just so like even it was when I went to my first debate, right? I was running. Akeem Browder was there. Larry actually prepped me before we go to the debate, right? So Larry prepped me. We go to the debate, and he says it like 3 times before the debate starts. Just be yourself. I hear him. I hear each time. Just be yourself.
I hear him now too.
Listen,
Thank you.
I listen. I hear him. I hear him. Yeah, yeah. Just be myself. I get up on stage. And it's all out the window. Like now, son, and I like I'm, and now I'm trying to be like every
The talking
political
head.
candidate
The
that I've
talking head.
seen. Yeah, yeah. And so while we're going through this, we're going through debate, but Akeem Browder is just you know what Akeem Browder is.
Yes, I know him.
He's just blah, like he's like he. And so afterwards, he says, "Well, you didn't make any." Larry says to me, "Well, you didn't make any major mistakes." But he says, I really liked. He said, I really liked Akeem Browder's performance. Like that's what you should have been doing. Like that's what you like. I was like, I get it. Like, but like in that moment, like I was just stuck on this. Like, okay, this is what I have to be the perfect political candidate. I have to be, just and recite things a certain way. And he's like, no, be yourself. Like, so being able to use this platform and start tapping into my creative side is so much it's so fun, and it's such an amazing journey to be able to do this, because it's like you're exercising muscles that you forgot you had.
That's right. Such an inspiration. Thank you for having me on. Those cliches. We need more black men. Boy, man.
Yeah. In fact, okay, so now if you see this comment, he says, here, I found your channel because of your amazing Lucas video, and it made me want to see more of both channels. Wasn't a fan of his for a different reason, but popped up more of your vids. So here's what happened. Last year, and so the funny thing is TLA was talking about this. So TLA is talking, I'm watching the lead attorney. He's talking about how he blew up. And he blew up because he got help from bigger YouTubers who, hey, they showed him love. And so the day that he does this, I had already done this video on this bigger YouTube named Amazing Lucas. Now, my purpose of making this video was just to give my opinions on it. I never thought Amazing Lucas would ever see this video. I never expected Amazing Lucas to ever see this video. 2 days after TLA is talking about, yeah, and getting a bigger YouTuber to shout you out, to help you out is perfect. 2 days later, I look at my phone and I see a picture, a screenshot on the YouTube of my video and Amazing Lucas. And I'm like, I don't remember this scene from my video. And then I realized, wait, this isn't my video. This is him talking about my video. This dude's got this dude has like 400,000 subscribers at the time. So like I'm like, whoa. So he starts talking about my video.
Okay,
He
I'm
actually
look this now. Let's see this guy.
yeah. So he actually shouts me out, sends people to watch my video, and my subscriber count just jumps. Cause like I had like 200 subscribers at the time. And then like my subscriber count just jumps. And so like it was something I never expected to happen. But it's just and that's the kind of support where it wasn't something I was looking for. I wasn't like on his page, hey, I'm a smaller YouTube. Can I get a shout out? No, it was just something that happened. I made something that caught his eye. I made a video because the video was about him. He liked my video, and he gave me the shout out. So like it's amazing.
Let's subscribe to that guy now. Okay.
Yeah.
The Amazing Lucas.
Yeah. So it's amazing how much space there is for us to support each other in this space. And so like even if you don't have $1 to spend, you can get on YouTube and find some Black YouTubers and support them. Same. I found about your channel thanks to Lucas. Yeah, just so many of the people on my channel.
Let's call him up right now. Where you at, Lucas?
Okay. Wow. Thanks for the super chat, Joe to go. I'm from the Amazing Army. I'm one of Amazing Lucas. Thank you, Joe to go. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah. I see. If you ever watch his show, Joe to go will sometimes be on his panels, and thank you a lot.
We need to do like really appreciate it. Only something, man. As women, it's Hershey one. We need to take it back, brothers. Let's make it him. Go.
Yeah, I mean, but like, there's just so much space for it. Like, this is the time to do it, because there was a time when getting stuff started was so much harder, but now there are ways to get stuff started so much easier that we can do it. And Lucas gave me a shout out when I just started my channel last year. Ran into him during a live stream. Most of my subs come from him too. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, he's actually he's helping people out.
Wow, this guy's a getter. Let's get it.
Yeah, definitely.
Call him right now, Lucas. Call him right now.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of space for growth. And hey, I mean, anything else you want to add in just terms of like, where do you see us doing anything more for Black business?
Well, the show that, to pitch my show that you can steal, at the end of this show, I will give the episodes and links necessary to do it. Because as a consultant, I try to connect. Amazon said my superpower is as a connector. That's why I try to connect everybody together to do something in some fashion. So we just have to find a unique way of making synergy amongst ourselves. Like what you're doing right now, pitching other programs, and then their fans come over here, and vice versa, giving words of inspiration. But also with StreamYard and some other platforms and YouTube, and you can put the links in the bottom to make people take an action. Like you have the echo chamber, I call it a complaint box. It's good to be yapping that way, but there should be an action taken after the fact to improve yourselves. It's like before I say, well, if you really want to know what's going on and follow the money, you should go to opensecrets.org. Now, who's taking copious notes with their eyes, and who wrote down opensecrets.org and went there to go follow the money of the politics, right?
Right.
If you want to become a YouTuber, then here. If you want to be on Aaron's show, go here. Drop the link. Come on in.
Right.
Come in right now. If you're a caller, want to be in the show, boom, here's a stream link. Come on in. Let's do it. And if you have any ideas, this, that, and the third. So always try to get everybody's taking action to support each other in some fashion. Like there's the three things they talked about in the black church. Remember the black church?
Yeah.
The time, the talents, and the treasures. So if we
Right.
give all those three things to each other, we can do it. Right now, I'm giving my time, my
Right.
talent, my wit, my knowledge,
Absolutely. Yeah, and I definitely appreciate it.
and
Cuz
I know.
like
Go ahead.
yeah, cuz your knowledge of local politics is just and it's crucial because so many people don't realize how much power is in the local level.
You don't have to vote for anything in your life. Jehovah's Witnesses don't vote. Dion says a lot of times Jehovah's Witnesses don't vote. They don't say that pledge or whatever it is.
Right.
When they go to court or whatever, behind the judge's back is the logo, and God we trust, the promo for God behind the judge's back. People don't care, but they know who to call if there's a hole in the ground. And keep in mind, people, if you're in New York City or wherever your municipality, as it were, if there's certain constants, failing schools, broken MTA, the project is falling apart, no matter who's in the White House since you've been born, if those things have consistently always been the problem and nothing has changed, is voting for the president really going to do anything? Is it? Just think about it. Exactly. And then if you think about it, say, hey, wait a minute. Everybody's all racist, but everybody in power is black. So how is racism affecting me if everybody controls everything on down is black? How is everything so racist is such a problem? Everybody is a Democrat, and a Democrat's my friend. And if I'm black, how come I work here in New York? Democrat control so horrible, and I'm always told it's so horrible and bad. So if I vote for Republican, is it really wrong? That's change. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Listen, we can't allow people with their own selfish interest to just to just scare us out of actually doing the research and looking for other options. It's just it doesn't make any sense. But now, when is your so once again, what's your title with Brexit?
Oh, you want to take the next few minutes to talk about Brexit? Let's start.
No. I'm not. Listen, people that's watching, I'm not gonna. Here's what because I don't want to get you in trouble. So
well, I do.
So I want you to listen. I want you to let us know what your position with Brexit and when your next event is. But listen, I'll pop down.
Here's the thing. I'll put it in the YouTube. I'm with Brexit New York. Brexit stands for Black's Exit. So if you have a problem with Candace Owens or Officer Tatum, those are our two founders.
I do.
You got a problem with me? How about that? But seriously though, Brexit is the only black organization I've ever joined that has a budget. They sent me to St. Louis last month to go to the rally. I went there, paid for hotel, paid for plane. They might send me to Tampa, Florida, to go to another Candace Owens rally. They have a budget. Every month they give us a budget. Here, do something positive in your community. We sponsor a small business pop-up here in the South Bronx. We have Brexit activities in South Bronx, the bluest county with a conservative black organization. Brexit, as you know, is trying to change the narrative for African Americans to more conservative. I'll say centrist. That's a new word they're using these days. Right side of the fence thinking. Some of the things that we've done, my title is Director of City. Before that, I prefer the title, which was the New York State Director of Outreach and Partnerships, because I'm good at that kind of thing, being from the political government realm. And one of the things that we're we're discussing is critical race theory, how it's more of a detriment than actual a helper for our culture. School choice, which leads to critical race theory. If you want to teach critical race theory, fine. Then the parents should have a cool school choice, black parents, to send them to a school for critical race theory or not. School choice, again, leads back to vaccine mandates. Parents didn't feel comfortable with their babies being vaccinated or sending them to a building with other children and other people that are having the COVID vaccine mandates. And so we said, well, school choice, you should be able to teach homeschool your child. If you have a degree, you should be able to teach your child at home until the age of whatever. You should be able to have a fund to send your child to charter school, public school, private school, parochial school, trade school. That's what we're talking about here on Brexit, but we're mostly demonized because of it. Some of the other things that we're being up to with Brexit New York is that all of our black leaders and institutions, they often fall unilaterally in line of what goes down here in New York. Hawk Newsom, good brother, Black Lives Matter. They do their own thing too. But we at Brexit, we're trying to break the stigmas of the victimization, because there's certain buzzwords that are demonized, like marriage, because the right wing uses them so much, more so hypocritical, victimhood. But then again, right now with Brexit, victimization also applies to our businesses, because I'm working with SBA and the idle loan money. The government has money, PPP money. Remember the PPP money?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that money got screwed up, and now black businesses got shafted. And right now too, if you're in New York State, you know about MWB. There's a whole lot of minority business-owned certifications where you're supposed to be earmarked a certain percentage of contracting and funding from the federal government, our friends controlled by the blue team, that we don't get. And that's what I fight for, and Brexit we fight for too. Like, hey, you guys are hypocrites. You're all about public safety, but where's the NYPD's procurement area? We're not for defund the police. Our state director, Madam Balaram, she blacks the blue. But I'm like, well, NYPD, to hold you accountable, I just want access to the contracts. I want to get my security team into Rikers Island, who they have friends and family that work and live on Rikers Island. How about that? Let's get these contracts, access to ownership, leadership, and capital. The only things that will break poverty. Because I said it when I ran for office, the more money you make, the more responsibilities you get, the more education you get, the more travel experience you get. Coming back to the hood is like getting into a dirty bathtub with your clothes on. Because the more of those things you have, the more conservative the mindset you'll have. And that's what will destroy poverty in New York City, is a change in mindset. If you have access to capital, ownership, and leadership, these are the three things they take away from our community. All shelters in our community are popping up more so, but it's like, well, you can't talk negatively about mental illness and violence. But who gains the benefit in making millions and billions of dollars off our poverty and then going to suburbia and then come to the hood to save us, then buy an apartment and they push us out? So Brexit, we see through all these little things. And anytime they try to encroach upon our human rights, like the rights of the parent, one thing at Brexit we talk about all the time is parent intimidation. And a lot of people, oh yeah, the parents know. If the parent says, listen, I do not want my child to go to the school, I will keep my child home to not go to that school that the government's telling me to, and then you want to throw the parent in jail, that's when the government is wrong. And the government has to look to itself to correct its problems. Most other countries, if society is the way it is now, the government has to actually correct itself instead of making the people do better. So,
listen, there's not a lot of
we got a couple of trolls here. We got to get trolls out of here.
And Amaterasu, I hear you. So there's a lot of people who feel, like I said, I'm not a fan of Tatum's and Owens. You know that. But listen, when you have Brexit events, especially local events, listen, when you go to Brexit events, I have no problem going there and talk, because I like meeting people that have already taken steps away from the Democratic Party. That's somebody that I can have an interesting discussion with, because I've had conversations with young people that may be dissatisfied with what the Democrats are doing, but maybe there's certain things that they're not aware of either. So yeah, I mean, like I said, let me know when your next next license.
I have it on my page. We're having something this Sunday about critical race theory, and school choice. I'm gonna put that out soon. It's on the Eventbrite. I can actually put it up on social media now if you want. Okay. And another thing is, there's certain kind of black people, if we want to keep it to that theme, in which it's like there are black people who have a problem with the Democratic Party, right? But just like poison, they keep drinking the blue Kool-Aid expecting things to change. And no matter how much information, how and why, that they should vote for something other than, they won't, right? And then there's certain black people that actually are dissatisfied with the Democratic Party. And they will do something and they will hear you out and they just won't do anything. So there's the people that complain and still vote for them. There are people that complain and do nothing. And there are people like me that will complain, but we'll take some sort of action, right? Like you'll take some sort of action. You'll vote for something other than Democrat. Right. Libertarian, for example. Right. Me, I'll do that too. Yeah. Or I'll go Republican or whatever. Yeah. They'll have to work hard for my votes. Because every year I put my ballot. Every time I vote, I put on social media. Look who I voted for. Dion, did you know that's illegal? I said, I know it's illegal. You told me it's illegal. I don't care.
Yeah, but exactly.
You can't post your ballot and show me who you're voting for. You are a problem. Because I put myself out there. This very platform, Aaron, you put yourself out there. You show me. You could be the KKK. I'll still say, Aaron, you put yourself out there. You ran for office. You did the damn thing. But if you can't show the world you voted for something other than Democrat and you have to work for your vote, my other boy, Adesh, he'll hold me on your show. He's like, wow, Dion, no political pundit could predict how you voted. I say, exactly. Why did you vote that way? This is why. I know this person. That's number
Right.
one. My self-interest.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Right. Right.
So why did you vote for this
Right.
person? Why did you come up with the something for mayor t-shirts all day, every day, and now you're mad at that person that won the mayor because you have no access?
Right.
Yeah, that's the first thing. So I'm gonna put my events on the social media.
Okay.
Let me actually find your I'm gonna put it in. Well, I'll put someone in the chat box.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I'll put them in the chat box. But yes, I'm gonna put it on your page. Blex is having a critical race theory event this Sunday. I'm putting it in the chat box now. And hopefully you guys will come and hear us out. Like me too, I have my problem with Tatum and Candace Owens.
Right.
It's like when I was a member of the National Action Network, I had a problem with Al Sharpton. But still,
Right.
It's not about that. It's about the mission statement, the members, and actually doing the real work. You know?
Well, that's why I really like interacting with some of the members, because it's having an opportunity to have discussions.
You went on the Blex little cruise with us.
Listen,
the city.
See, listen, here's what I did. I told people without using the name because I didn't want to get anybody in trouble, but I said how basically I was I was debunking certain talking points. So like I'm not going to start trouble, but that's not my intention.
I'm laughing. Damn it, we're not a joke.
Oh man!
So Aaron has been to 2 Blexit events. I can recall. We had this rooftop Blexit.
Was it just 2? Because I know we did the rooftop, the cruise. Okay, I thought maybe it was 1 or 2 others. Okay. Yeah, but those are both cool.
Blexit New York, but you gotta even Blexit has to understand something. When I go to their events, New York is a different breed when it comes to Black conservatism or any types of alternative thinking when it comes to the Black agenda.
Right.
And I tell them in these meetings, like in New York, we're actually a purple state, and there's, like I say all the time, a Black silent majority. There's a very loud Black minority, but there's certain principles that Yes, prevention. That's a very big word, Kenny, as well. In which they have to understand that we have to do things differently here in New York. The conservative party, even Black conservatives and Republicans, they're in an echo chamber. These people can't hit the streets like I can and knock on the projects and find the other conservative behind the door in the projects. And that's the problem. Right. Outreach sucks. The Democratic Party has it to a science what keeps us nice and placated and stuff like that. The freebies. So when
they have complete control of New York.
The same methodology of outreach is what I'm saying. The free stuff, the bouncy houses.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what they do. They create a problem and then say, "Oh, you need to come to us for the solution." Like they will literally do that. They will literally just the policies that they did over the past couple of years. They created just mass problems. And then now they're like, "Oh, well, you need to vote for us to solve these problems." Like you create this inflation, y'all created this problem. You're like, this is an accident. And then these pundits are writing stories like, "Oh, nobody could have saw this coming." We did. We saw this coming. We said this was coming. You have somebody like Thomas Massey who explicitly said, "This is going to be a really bad idea." And people and both sides attacked him. But it's I know, because here's the thing I'm seeing. I'm seeing that the Republican, for all of the Democratic Party's faults, the Amazing Lucas. Amazing Lucas is a conservative. But what happens is he stopped using certain talking points, right? So Amazing Lucas had 500,000 subscribers, was headed up. He stopped using certain talking points and started losing subscribers. Like people was like, "Oh, you're a liberal now." He's not. But because he wasn't using the talking points, a bunch of these he'll call them ignorants were started hating on him and started getting mad at the stuff he was saying. And so you've got the Republican establishment that doesn't want to push the Sonny Johnsons. They don't want to.
Maj Toure, Larry.
Yes.
Those guys.
Yeah, They don't. They're afraid of them. Like CPAC. So listen, you remember Maj had this panel at CPAC and
You
them.
put me on to that one.
Listen, yes, they killed it. But CPAC this year, none of them were invited. In fact, Lawrence Jones. So if you know Lawrence Jones from Fox News, Lawrence Jones was doing the prime time, was filling in for the prime time slot on Fox News, but he would bring Maj, King Randall, Sonny Johnson, Felicia Killings, Jeff Charles. He would bring them on. Like that's all the people he was bringing on every
And
week,
that's
right?
the hand up that we're talking about. And it has to be
Right.
consistent.
But because he was alive with them, CPAC didn't invite him. He actually was the
That's
host.
the problem. That's the systemic,
Yes.
boogeyman
Yes.
that they're talking about. That's when it's real.
Yes.
That's when it's
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. It's crazy. So like it's like they're that's the Republican Party's problem right now. They still want to they only want to promote certain people. Like they like Lucas started talking about things going on in the black community, and he was deemed a leftist when he addressed race. Yeah.
See, that's the sandwich we're in, but that's why the Libertarian Party and some of the other
Joe
third
to go.
parties
Yeah.
are very good at. Even though certain the Libertarians, even Republicans, I'll even say it to you, they're a cult in some respects.
Exactly.
There's an opportunity there if you give us access to what? Leadership, ownership, and capital. If you ran LP New York State and I was involved and I taught my Democratic card in front of the cameras and live, we would destroy everything as black men and they would hate us. And exponentially, the hate would just get more black men involved. And there would be a serious problem if we were to do that. But the thing is, there are two monsters here. And if we could get third-party ballot access this year, it'll be interesting. But it's the blue versus red team all over again. And it's sad to say, wherever we're on, we're still going to be the outsiders. Yeah. And unless we co-opt the Democratic Party, like I told Larry and the Libertarians that had the Libertarian Democrats, like the Democrat Socialists, that's the only way I see this thing working long-term. Other than that, let's go to Africa, everybody. All right, Dave Chappelle, let's go to Africa. Forget this. Let's go to Africa.
Believe me, they hate me too. I was there the whole time. Yeah, Joe's been on Lucas's channel for a while. Yeah.
Colin. Somebody call in.
But I'm about to get off stream.
Okay.
Yeah, but like, listen, man, thank you so much for coming on. And let me know. Listen, let me know when you want to come back. Please let me know.
No, I'll be your sidekick. You know, I was trying to do my show. New York Parrot wanted me to do my show on Sunday evenings because I think Sunday late afternoon would be a good show for me. And that's what I'll do. I have like the Bill Moore stand for it. This is what we're discussing. This is the argument. But here at the end, here's the solutions. Here's how you run for office. Here's my for Here's our organization. Do this. Open your own business here. Here's the small business grant. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. Okay, listen, that's plan because I'll touch bases with you, let you know when I'm going live and everything, so you can.
This is every Wednesday.
So no, actually, so what I've been doing, I've been going live throughout the week. Like I'm probably going to go live tomorrow and Friday. I'm definitely going live Friday. I might go live again tomorrow as well, because I'm putting my topics together. But I'll let you know. Like I'll shoot you a text tonight to let you know what I'm going to do. Or maybe by the morning to let you know if I'm going live tomorrow. But I'm definitely going live on Friday. And yeah, if you're available, just let me know.
So then I have to, because the thing that like on other shows, I try to make the t-shirts my gimmick. Like I wear a different t-shirt.
Well, listen, I normally wear the suits, right? Yeah. But I'm doing this thing. I'm doing Casual Friday. Okay. So Casual Friday, I actually have a specific outfit I'm wearing this Friday. It's gonna be my first time wearing it on stream. But yeah. So
I'll make a suggestion. Let's have a Women's History Month theme.
Listen, I'm with it. I'm with it. You know, definitely. Like Harriet Tubman, because she's like I said, I was talking about her earlier with the $20 bill. She's a beast. An absolute beast.
No, you should do the Harriet Tubman that they don't want to hear about. Do the
absolutely.
Harriet Tubman you talking about, the gun toting.
Yes, that's the one. That's the one. Yeah.
Yep. Oh my God, Harriet Tubman. Yeah. If Russia were to invade America, you want to be down with Harriet Tubman, not these people over here talking about no guns.
Casual Friday. Definitely enjoy your lives. I agree, like say your tea and all, but all of you, thank you, Just Kenny. In fact, thank you everyone for coming onto the stream, Thank you, Joe to go. Joe to go. Thank you for the super chat. Definitely appreciate it.
The Bronx, New York, free, the Bronx, New York, free thinking Democrats. Facebook.
Okay. Awesome. And thank you,
Blessings.
Dion. Thank you for jumping on the stream with me.
All right, guys.
All right. Have a good one.